Thank you. Welcome to the meeting of the Tahoe Truckee Unified School District Board of Trustees. Today's November 2nd, 2022. The board did meet in closed session this evening and took no reportable action in closed session. If you please, we have two North Tahoe students.
Franny and Skylar.
Could you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Superintendent Geisels, does staff have any changes to this evening's agenda?
No, we do not, President Zerk.
Would someone like to move agenda approval?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I will point out that after most of you are here for the River Sage discussion tonight, which I appreciate, but our Director of Educational Services will be doing a presentation after that in regards to the district's scores on the standardized tests that happened last year, and it's quite positive. So I encourage all of you to stay and hear that information also, so you can learn more about TTUSD and what's happening with our kids, especially during the hard times related to COVID. So that would be coming up later. That was my commercial right there. So this is the opportunity right now for public comment. So this is public comment that anything that is not on this evening's agenda. So if you want to talk about the charter petition, we'll do that during the public hearing. So this is about anything that's not on tonight's agenda. So is there anyone who wants to talk about anything that's not on the agenda this evening? Okay, thank you. Seeing none, we will close that part of public comment. Next, we get to hear from our student representatives. And can I tell you how excited I am, and I think we all are as a board, to be able to have our students back in our boardroom to talk to us post-COVID. So thank you.
If you guys want to come on up to the front. Thank you so much for being here.
You got to make sure the green light's on.
Yeah, you push the push button and the little green light comes on.
Good job. Hi, I'm Skylar.
I'm Franny. Oh, okay. I'm from North Tahoe High School. I'm a senior, so is Skylar. What's been going on? Our honor system has changed a little bit. Instead of having an honor roll breakfast, they just hand out cookies now. Last year we had 88 Distinguished Scholar students and 85 honor roll students. Woohoo, more distinguished. The most sophomores, freshmen, and some juniors took the PSAT on October 12th. It went well. There have been several FAFSA college workshops at our school and in our classrooms and stuff. Our senior class president, Ashley, raised $7,000 for senior grad night through a Kermes at Kings Beach Elementary School. We had a Being Yourself speaker. Kevin Bracey came and talked at our school, probably at Truckee too. And then we just, yesterday or 2 days ago, we had our hallway Halloween where sophomores, freshmen, juniors, and seniors decorate the hallway, and we have a competition. Seniors won. Our new tech program brought UTI to our school. I don't know what that means. UTI. Woo!
I could be wrong, but I believe UTI is like a technology program engineering school. They brought a Supra with a modded out engine that showed their engineering program, trying to get students to go to the school. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's not that other thing you said.
As for fall sports, our volleyball team is planning on going to regionals. I believe they're undefeated, right, Franny?
Yeah.
Our football team unfortunately lost to Incline this past Friday. I'm not really happy about it. But we had, I would say, some of the most attendance that I've ever seen at any of our football games due to our new program. And our leadership program got 500 white T-shirts passed out to the whole school so that we could do a light out or white out at our game, which was really awesome. Golf got second at states. Tennis, I think their season recently ended. They're going to regionals?
I think so.
Tennis is going to regionals too. Soccer, their states game against Ingline, I believe, is this Friday. And then cross country girls got first, boys got fourth. And then as for winter sports upcoming, they're looking promising. That's the best I can say. I think that's it for right now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Lupita?
We look forward to hearing from somebody from North Tahoe each month, so thank you so much.
Thank you both for coming. We don't have any Truckee High or Sierra High.
So we don't have Truckee or Sierra High tonight? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Superintendent Geisels, this is the opportunity for the Superintendent Chief Learning Officer to give an update on the district.
Thank you, and I will be brief. We have a full agenda. I want to share a few celebrations that are once again a result of the hard work and dedication by our parents and community. Donner Trail has been recognized as one of the best elementary schools in California. They rank number 48 out of 7,163 elementary schools in the state. So that's impressive. And Truckee High was recognized by the American Field Services, AFS USA, as one of the top 75 U.S. schools supporting study abroad participants over the last 75 years. AFS USA empowers people to become globally engaged citizens by delivering meaningful intercultural experiences, and we're grateful for partnering with them. So a round of applause for Truckee High. And lastly, congratulations to our first graduating class of the Community Interpreter Program. We have 5 TTUSD employees that are now officially certified as community interpreters, and we will be showcasing them at the next board meeting on November 16th. And that's all I have to share.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to that. I did hear about that, and that's very exciting. Okay, our first presentation item is in regard to our Tahoe Truckee Workforce Housing Agency. And
Emily, if you want to come up here?
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great, Emily. Thank you.
We just have 2, just in case.
So do you want to introduce this, Superintendent Geisels?
Yes. I'd like to introduce Emily Bitas, who is our Executive Director of the Tahoe Truckee Workforce Housing Agency Joint Powers Authority, to which TTUSD has a board seat with 7 partnering agencies total. And Emily is coming to talk about the possibility of providing housing opportunities to the employees of the Tahoe Truckee Workforce Housing Agency member agencies. Emily, that's a big mouthful to say. So go ahead.
Is it on? Okay. First of all, thank you, everybody. This is how excited people are about housing, that they all came out tonight to support me. But really, last time I was here, there was 2 people in the audience. So it is really nice to have so many people here listening to this presentation and obviously here for the next as well. So tonight I'm actually giving you a quick update on what we've been doing. I want to respect everybody's time, so I'm going to shoot through the first few slides, and then we can really focus on the strategic plan, what we've got going, and then on the 16th of November, I'm hoping to come back to you all and have a soft request or ask for you at that meeting. So let's shoot through slides. While we're finding
We're getting your
slides
slides up right now.
Okay, cool. While we're finding slides, I'll just start so that we can get through this. So as you all know, we are a Joint Powers Authority representing 7 public member agencies providing housing services to your public agency employees. Our current members are the school district, the airport, the hospital, the Public Utility District, Nevada County, Placer County, and the town of Truckee. We are representing 2,300 community service professionals in our community of about 16,000 members of our workforce currently. This evening is informational only. Again, I'll be back on the 16th with a more formal ask relating to analysis around a school district site that we're interested in looking at for workforce housing. Okay, so let's shoot through to the third slide. Again, very quickly, just want to touch upon funding structure. As you all are aware, our funding structure is based on number of employees. So we have 7 member agencies ranging from 1,300 employees of the hospital district down to 28 employees of the airport district. So on an annual basis, we are working under a $400,000 operating budget, and that is again based on number of employees of each of our member agencies. This current year, the school district did receive a refund from 21-22, reducing your member fee down to $89,000 for this fiscal year we're working under. Next slide, please. Very quickly, who we serve and how we serve. Who we serve. We serve, again, 2,300 employees, and the majority of the employees we serve make more than 80% area median income. So 95% of the employees, 90% of school district employees make more than 80% area median income. Affordable housing is capped at 80%. So the workforce housing we've seen come to the region through the town and the counties recently is all capped at 60-80%, meaning we are working in the middle income category to make sure that our community service professionals in that middle income are being served on the housing front. So how do we serve your employees currently? So as you all know, under our funding structure, our legal structure, we can serve our employees through programs and services. We can also serve them through the development of housing, the acquisition of housing, et cetera. What I'm presenting to you tonight is, when we get to the strategic plan, how do we start to pursue bigger things, development, acquisition, et cetera? How do we access bigger funding streams to do so? So currently, the way we serve your employees is through 3 kind of pillars. Housing concierge is really that foundational, provide your employees everything they need to navigate the very challenging housing landscape in the Truckee-Tahoe region. Whether it's needing to apply for affordable housing, they want to buy a home but they don't know how to start, or as we've heard recently, they are maybe living out of a motel room or a car, and we've got to get them in transitional housing immediately. Rental housing. We have a long-term rental program that is complementary to the town and the county's lease to locals programs. What we're doing is unlocking additional homes that we can access for public service professional utilization for long-term and temporary lease if we have new employees come to the area that are trying to find housing, et cetera. We are also helping your employees, again, to access that affordable housing. It can be hard to navigate. We've got a number of complexes. They're all managed by different entities. Can we help them with applications and who to contact so they can get into that housing? And then home purchase. You have 45% of your employees are renting currently. Almost all of them want to own a home. We know that not everyone in this community will be able to own a home, but those that are really interested and have the capacity or ability to, how can we help them to kind of take the fear out of home purchase, connect them with really trusted lending partners, real estate partners, et cetera. So we are also working on an education program around there. Again, take the fear out of home buying if you're able to go down that route. Next slide. Really quickly, some successes over the last 2 years of housing operations. Last time I came to you, this list looked very different. In the last few years, we have been able to directly support over 200 of our member agency employees on their housing pursuits. Some of those are, I need help completing the application for Hopkins Village. So some of them are, we are actually helping them buy their first home. So we've had some really amazing successes over the last many years. And it's nice to see that the percentage breakdown among employees is actually really equivalent to the dollars that our member agencies are contributing to provide their employees with housing access and opportunities. Next. Okay, so this year we completed a employee housing needs survey. The last survey was in 2020, about 2 months into the pandemic, and this is now almost 2.5 years into a pandemic. So you'll see that some of these numbers have increased. To respect everybody's time, I'd like to go to the next slide and focus just on school district employee responses. Thank you. So a couple of these numbers have jumped, a couple of them have dropped. This is about 7 of 35 questions that we asked in that survey. You all are going to receive a report that is specific to TTUSD once our consultant is done with it in 2 weeks. So I just wanted to see you to see a few of these numbers. I'd say the most significant is the second line. We saw a 30% increase in employees considering leaving employment in part due to housing. That number was slightly lower for all of our member agencies, so it is significant for the school district to look at. I really dug into the open-ended responses, and a lot of this was people aren't satisfied in the housing that they currently live in. So I rent a home, I really want to own a home, I'm starting a family, I need stability. Some of the others were cost repairs for their homes, et cetera. So some dissatisfaction, but also a lot of housing stress among our entire community. So we're seeing those numbers increase pretty drastically. Also saw an increase in employees that are renting their homes. To me, that is scary because renting right now can equal instability. However, we are seeing a shift in our housing market, and we're starting to see people more interested in renting. So that could really help us as we're trying to build those bigger opportunities and successes for our employees. Finally, really quickly, final tour specific to pandemic. We had 10% of your employees that lost their rental housing during the pandemic. We also saw a couple responses that said, I'm getting ready to leave because I am just too stressed by this. I cannot access the housing I want. And that speaks to that bottom line. 40% of your employees said that in the last few months they experienced high levels of stress around housing. Doesn't mean that they're losing their housing. Some of them, a lot of them, own their homes, and they're just feeling very stressed about the state of housing in the Truckee-Tahoe region. The next two slides are with Director Larson in mind. We have been talking a lot about how do we make sure that we are asking the right questions so that we understand when we're moving forward with development and acquisition, what kind of rooms and what kind of prices we're actually looking for. So this first slide is rental needs. I highlighted a few of them or made them red because I want you all to understand that we are seeing exactly the number of bedrooms our employees need and what prices they are able to pay of those bedrooms. The next slide is home purchase. So we asked a lot of questions around area median income, what kind of housing they want, what amenities they want, what can they afford, and what number of rooms do they need. So we now have this kind of working understanding of the number of units we may be looking at for purchase, for rent, and then how many bedrooms and at what prices, which is going to be very important as we move forward with our work.
Emily, can I ask a question in regards to that? Sorry to interrupt
Of course.
you. As an intellectual exercise, it may be interesting to scale that with the changes in interest rates.
Yeah.
Because as we know, we talked about with Hopkins Ranch, that changing interest rate
Yes.
makes a huge difference in the
Yes.
left-hand column.
Yeah.
So just a thought.
Okay, thank you. Let's keep shooting through all of these. Okay, so here is the good stuff. We all know that this structure we founded this agency under is challenging, right? So we created an agency that serves a subsector of our community when we have 1,600 people in our community, many of who are challenged with housing right now. We hear from a lot of community members. We get a lot of calls from all of you saying, your name is the Workforce Housing Agency. I need help with housing. We are helping our community members as much as we can. And so we're walking them through the process like we do with your employees, but when it comes to financial incentives, et cetera, we cannot offer that currently. We also saw just some growing pains over the last 2.5 years, right? We founded right before a pandemic hit and everything shifted. If this model continued without a pandemic, we may have, as a community, said, like, yes, we have to house our teachers, our nurses, our doctors. Hard stop. It is, we have to house our community that is all struggling right now, right? So we worked with a consultant over the last 6 months to create a new strategic framework that is leading to a strategic plan that my board will be considering before the end of the year. I want to focus on the top 2 areas tonight because the bottom 2 areas are really what we do currently. Obviously, we're operating a public agency for workforce housing. We're already supporting our member employees through programs and services. Those top 2 areas are the areas we asked the consultant to spend 6 months with us on analyzing from March until now. So the next 2 slides are speaking to the financial tools and the long-term housing solutions. So this one is very big and a little bit scary. We asked the consultant to start looking at different funding tools, funding streams, financial tools that we could consider so that we can have a greater impact on the development and acquisition and beyond of housing in the region. As I mentioned, our current structure allows us to run programs and services. It doesn't necessarily allow us to have a big impact on the development and acquisition of housing in the region. What our consultant has recommended and what our board has given a thumbs up to but not an approval to with the strategic plan is the creation of a 501c3 workforce housing fund that will live under the Workforce Housing Agency, will provide housing services for our entire community. Right now that looks like revolving loan funds for developers that are already bringing the type of housing we need for the middle income to the region. And acquisition of existing multifamily units for the most part, because as we've seen, when they come on sale, an investor can come in and buy them, flip them, and they're no longer for our community to live in. So this workforce housing fund, the reason that we're proposing it, the reason it's a 501c3, is we have significant dollars that we can unlock if we have this structure. And so we have member agencies that are saying, we can contribute $1 million+ a year for housing, but we need a different structure to do so. That's what this structure proposes. So the top blue bubble is our existing agency. Bottom right bubble is some of our member agencies said, we have more money to give, but we need it to stay with our employees specifically. And then the left side is, we have a lot of money to give, but we need a different structure to do so. So we have soft commitments of about $10 million over the first 5 years once we have the fund created, and that is just on the public side. This is a fund that will allow for private philanthropic dollars as well. And would take about 9 months to found. So this is a significant shift in our model. This would mean we are starting to serve more of the community beyond just your employees while still focusing on our community service professionals of our 7 member agencies. Next slide. Next, another big one. So as you all know, we are structured to pursue development and acquisition. We don't necessarily have the financial structure and the capacity yet to get there. So we worked with our consultant to take all of the land that our member agencies own and refine based on certain criteria. Criteria including location, parcel size, the owner of the land interested in actually considering development on this land. It was a long list. And the consultant came back with 4 sites, one of which is a school district site. As you all remember, I came to you months ago and asked for your approval to create an ad hoc committee with your staff, board members, and my team, and start talking about which sites that are owned by the school district could we actually consider development on. This ad hoc committee decided after 2 meetings to actually go dark because we were entering into a strategic planning process and you all were entering into master planning and facilities planning. So the plan was break, come back together in 6 to 8 months, and let's compare what we found. This is what we found. So one of the sites is a school district site. Next slide. This site is a 10-acre parcel off of 267 Kingswood Estates. It is 10 acres located in Placer County. I'm not going to go through all of the information, but I want you all to know that this consultant did say, we looked at all the school district sites, especially the 3 that the ad hoc committee was considering, and this is the one that we think is actually an opportunity for workforce housing. Some strengths and challenges. One of the strengths is this is a site that's right in between Truckee and North Tahoe, and you all have staff that work throughout the district, and so this is a little bit more center than putting something maybe like over by Alder Creek or down into Houma. So I'll leave this all with you and keep moving forward so we can get to the conversation. So as you know, this is not the first time you're seeing this. This is probably not a surprise to you all. We've done a lot of work over the last 1.5 years on your sites and this site specifically. We've had a lot of conversations with your staff over the last 1.5 years. We've been meeting with your legal counsel to understand the development mechanisms that are specific to school districts. We've had a ton of meetings with board members, Placer County, TRPA. We had the 2 meetings with the ad hoc committee. And then finally, Agnew Beck, the consultant we've been working with, had a planning team on the analysis of your sites that resulted in the recommendation around this one site. That recommendation also came with how many units can be placed on the site, what are the big concerns with TRPA and Placer County, and then we met with Placer County and TRPA to have those conversations. Next slide. As I mentioned, development mechanisms. School districts are very unique in a really cool way in that there are mechanisms that the state is approving that allows school districts, more than any other public agency, special district, anything, to consider development of workforce housing on their land without having to go through the Surplus Land Act, without having to work with their local jurisdictions to actually get approvals, shifts in code, policy, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not going to go through these tonight. You all are aware of the first 2. The second was passed 3 weeks ago by the governor. There are substantial opportunity for school districts to consider workforce housing development on their land right now.
Before you move on, can you say that part again about how we're exempt from working with some really big names?
Yeah. So specifically with AB 2295, actually, all of them kind of mixed and layered on. Clarissa, your legal counsel, would be helping us really understand how to utilize them. But with AB 2295, it is exempting some projects and districts from working with local jurisdictions for approvals. So you would be like, if you were to develop on district land currently a school facility, you work with the state architect. It would be the same way if you wanted to bring workforce housing to one of your parcels, instead of having to work with Placer County, Town of Truckee, et cetera, through that very sometimes onerous process of getting things passed. Happy to provide more detail on all of that before our November 16th meeting, if that would be helpful. Okay, so what would we do? What is the Workforce Housing Agency for as it relates to development? We see ourselves as a facilitator. We determine the need, which we're currently doing. We can lead the analysis on the site if the district were to acknowledge that they are comfortable with us, considering it an opportunity site. We can lead land appraisals. We can hire the consultants through the Workforce Housing Agency to actually do all of this analysis. We can lead the development of RFPs for bids, pro formas, et cetera, and obviously be your partner in facilitation of the development process. So we really would be your housing arm in moving forward with the development of workforce housing on one of your sites. And finally, again, tonight is informational only. I wanted to get all of this in front of you. The ad hoc committee said we were going to get back together before end of year and share what we found. I will be sharing that with them as well. But I wanted you all to see what the decision was, what our strategic direction looks like, and what we've been up to over the last year or so since I presented to you all. So on the 16th, I will be coming back to you with a request. The request is not give up your land. The request is acknowledge that you are not planning on placing school facilities on this parcel, at least in the near future, and acknowledge that you are interested in understanding what it looks like to bring workforce housing to that site. And the result would be us basically creating a pro forma so you understand this is what would go on it, this is how much it would cost, and this is how we actually come up with that funding. Whew. We just ran a marathon. Sweating.
Nice work.
Wow.
Do we have
I don't think I hit the 15-minute mark, but I hope that I was
You
close.
did great, Emily.
So, board questions. This is going to come back to us for action.
Yep.
Board questions while Emily's here tonight. Galen?
I'll keep it to one question.
Only one?
Yeah.
For now.
Early in your presentation, you mentioned teachers or some of our employees who are living in motels or that kind of thing. So when you address the type of housing, it can't be the middle to affect them. If you're going to get kind of you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
We need some low, like apartments possibly.
Yep.
And how will that decision be made?
Yeah, with projects, we would not be looking at $700,000 condos. We'd be looking at housing. Really, if we're looking at projects on school district land, it is going to be built for school district employees, but with a priority. And then next priority is other members of our local workforce. What's interesting is those employees we've worked with that have called us and said, I'm sleeping in the district's parking lot. It is not because of how much money they make. It is because during the pandemic, we lost access to all housing. And so we had people that were not able to get into rentals, even though they were making $100,000+ as a family. And so we're not necessarily looking at, just because you aren't able to get into a rental means that you are making a low level of money. It's because of the housing situation we've been living in. So we have not heard from employees in the last few months. We are seeing slightly more stability and slightly less dissatisfaction with housing. But yes, we will be taking into account serving all of your employees if we move forward with looking at what it would look like to develop on 10 acres. I also know that the Kingswood community is not going to be happy with 200 or 300 units, right? We're not trying to answer the entire housing crisis with one site. And so what would it look like to place 50 or 80 nice apartments that your employees have access to, and if they're not interested at that moment in time, we open it up to a greater group of our workforce.
Thanks, Emily. You just touched on what I was going to bring up is, yes, we can forego many of the hoops that others who would develop on their property would have to do, but we need to make sure the neighborhood is involved and informed.
That is a big piece.
It's a huge piece.
And again, one of the other things we can do is work with consultants and my team to actually conduct that community outreach and do it right. We've seen Dollar Creek Crossing is a good example. I love the developers in Placer County, but we really need to do better
Yes.
if we're working with the school district to bring housing to the community.
Right. And honestly, the district doesn't have cash.
Right.
Where the other agencies that are our partners do, so our opportunity is with property.
Land, right. And with that, I do want to mention with that 501c3 fund, we are not coming to you with any money asks. We understand how the school district is able to show up, and so we have other member agencies, specifically Placer County, that are willing to unlock significant dollars so we can really start to make an impact on housing here.
Yep. And a little bit to Galen's question, the town and the counties have a lot of access to very low and even moderate income subsidized funds that don't necessarily serve our employees. So for instance, the Artist Loft is very low, where that's really not our folks. So
We have
hopefully
helped
it balances
three of your
out.
employees get into artist lofts. You have 10% below 80% AMI,
Right.
but 10%, 586 employees is, then you've got 90% of 80% plus.
Right.
Yeah.
Dee Dee?
Thank you. I'm impressed at how efficiently you ran through that.
yeah.
I just want to also, big change from when we started. So compliments to your organization for getting it this far. And then, I'm actually really psyched that we were part of it in the beginning. I know that was one of our discussions is, should we be, how do we get involved? And knowing that we didn't have the cash flow, it's amazing. And I think it's a great thing that we are all with you. And I think it just stands to our community that we are definitely aware of our community and we want our community to be successful. But this is night and day from when we started.
Yeah.
So hats off.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you recognizing that.
Okay. We'll look forward to seeing you
Wonderful.
at our next
And
meeting.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody,
Emily.
for hanging in there.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Okay, so the next item is our River Sage Charter School petition presentation. Superintendent Geisels, do you want to introduce this, and then I will go through the process part of it?
Yes, I'm trying to get to my page.
No
I
hurry.
apologize. So on September 6th, we received a charter school petition from the River Sage Charter Petition. So following within the timelines of Education Code, we had to have a public hearing and a presentation, which falls today. And then ultimately, thank you, President Zurich. And then ultimately, the district is researching the petition, and the next step in per Ed Code is that the district would post their findings to the charter petition. So that would be posted, we hope, we're looking for November the 10th, that's a Thursday, prior to the Veterans Day holiday. And then the board will reconvene in a special board meeting to render a decision about the petition on November the 28th. So on that note, we have a presentation tonight from Tracy Bondi, and I believe, is Lauren Bello with you, or no? Hi, Lauren. Okay.
All right. So a couple of things before our presentation. So anybody who plans to make public comment, please make sure you fill out a commenter card. And our wonderful HR Director, Joan Zapatini, can help you with that. So please make sure you do that. Thank you. And then let me talk about the process that we're going to have this evening so that we all know what to expect. As Superintendent Geisels mentioned, we got the charter school petition on September 6th. So we're following the process that is prescribed by the state. And so the petitioners wanted to form and operate a charter school under the authorization of the Tahoe Truckee Unified School District. That's us. We're the Board of Trustees for the school district. The petition included a certification by the petitioners that it was deemed complete. That's required when you apply. A charter school may be authorized by a school district or a county board of education, but operates independently of the district. Tonight, the board's going to hold this public hearing after the presentation. So we're going to hear a presentation first, 15 minutes. Then we will open the public hearing. That's the time that we will hear from anyone who's filled out one of these yellow cards. And the statute by the state specifically calls out the hearing is to provide the board the opportunity to measure the public response to the charter school proposal and to consider the level of support from district teachers, other district employees, and parents. That's the specific wording in the state statute. The public hearing will go as follows. First, our representative will speak for 15 minutes, and then public comment will be heard. We have about 15 folks who are signed up, so you will have 3 minutes, and Lupita we're asking you to strictly adhere to that 3 minutes so that we can fit everybody in. So what I will do is I'll call folks up, and I'll let you know that you're next in line. So if you could be ready to speak, and we can, yeah, you can do back or front. See, there's back there or here. They're with you. Oh, they're with you in the back. Never mind. I got overruled. Okay, so from back there, but please be ready to speak so that we can really be cognizant of everybody's time here, and I'm sure there's going to be some kiddos who are tired by the time we're done. Let's see. So 3 minutes to speak. After that, the board will have an opportunity to ask questions of the petitioner, and I'd let Tracy know that, and you're welcome to have whomever that is answer. If it's you, great, or if it's you and a couple other folks. I don't want a bunch of people going back and forth, but however that works for you, if you could answer our questions as to the best of your ability. And that's really just our opportunity to begin to work on our fiduciary responsibility to make this decision in the best interests of our district. Let's see. We won't take action tonight. Superintendent Geisel's already talked about that. The staff recommendations will be posted on November 10th, and then we will actually take action to grant or deny the charter petition at our meeting on November 28th. Does that make sense for everybody? Okay, so please, we look forward to your presentation, and we have a copy of it, and we'll be running it up here too.
Great. It looks like the green light is on. Okay.
Okay. Can everybody hear on these microphones in the back? Okay, it doesn't sound very loud to me, just so you can hear. That's great.
All right. Thank you so much for allowing us this time to present to you. My name is Tracy Bondi, and I am the lead petitioner of River Sage and a member of the nonprofit board submitting the petition. I have worked as a charter school finance and operations professional for over 15 years, and I have 2 children who will attend River Sage as a TK and first grader in the fall. They're back there. David Gurman is a parent of 2 children who will attend River Sage as well. He is a co-founder and chief product officer of a sports tech startup called Kaya, and he is also a data artist, a TED fellow, and he's on the fundraising committee for River Sage. Bonnie River has been an educator and administrator of public and private Waldorf schools for over 40 years, and she is also the grandparent of 2 future River Sage students. Karan Kotalik has been a certificated teacher, also holding a Waldorf certification for over 12 years. She is one of the teachers who has committed to work at River Sage School. Oh, sorry, I didn't advance that slide. So here is our agenda for this evening. We will briefly review our organizational philosophy and how we will operate, and then we will discuss how we will meet the needs of our community with our unique educational program. Rudolf Steiner, quoted here, was the founder of Waldorf education. The first Waldorf school opened 100 years ago to serve students of factory workers in Germany as it was rebuilding from World War I. Steiner spoke to the League of Nations about the need for social renewal, for a new way of organizing society and its political and cultural life. As a result of these talks, the Waldorf movement began. We are a group of parents who have been dedicated to developing Waldorf education in Truckee-Tahoe region since 2014. Here is a picture of the location called Hoskatasen, which is a 40-acre site on Union Mills Road. The site was purchased in 2019 by a group of parents with a benefactor's support for the purpose of housing a public Waldorf school. Hi, honey. Our organization currently operates a local early childhood education center, where my son is at right now, serving students aged 18 months to approximately 4 years. We are submitting this charter petition in order to provide tuition-free Waldorf education to children eligible for grades TK through 8. Our vision is to offer a comprehensive Waldorf education for families in the Truckee-Tahoe region, integrating academics, arts, movement, nature, and social responsibility into everyday learning. We will develop empowered, confident, creative, strong critical thinkers and environmental stewards. We already have a community of students devoted to Waldorf education in the Truckee-Tahoe region. You may have heard of Golden Valley Tahoe Charter School, which was shut down by its charter management organization that was operating it. About 70 students are currently homeschooling and attending Waldorf enrichment classes provided by a nonprofit called FOTTW, or Friends of Tahoe Truckee Waldorf. These families, many of whom are here tonight, and some attending Little Gems, some of whom are here tonight as well, are committed to this charter school and to Waldorf education. Our mission is that through Waldorf-based education, each child will blossom into an imaginative, engaged, competent, lifelong learner who is empowered to create a more equitable and sustainable world. So as I mentioned, I currently am a board member of the nonprofit organization that will govern the charter that we are renaming Sierra Sage. In just 3 years, our Early Childhood Education Center has grown from serving 18 students to approximately 50 students in full and part-time care, with a wait list of about 150 students. Our governing board has expertise across a wide range of skills, from education to running small businesses to managing marketing for large publicly held businesses. We also recruited an advisory board of successful charter founders and administrators, as well as Waldorf experts, a food service expert, and an employment law expert to round out the expertise on which we can rely. And speaking of expertise, I would love to share with you a bit more about my own background. I have been working with charter schools since I earned my MBA in 2007. I began with a charter school back office services provider and business consulting firm, where I worked with various client charters, from startups to large CMOs. I have served on governing boards and committees, including as chairs of them, and I am now the Director of Finance at Environmental Charter Schools, a group that runs 4 schools serving over 1,400 students this year, with an annual budget of about $30 million. And long ago, I started out as a 6th through 8th grade teacher. I am very passionate about empowering students and teachers through public education, and that is why I'm before you on behalf of this school today. One of the questions that we often hear is whether we are the group that was running Golden Valley Tahoe. We are not at all related to Golden Valley. They are a Sacramento-based nonprofit that runs 2 small charter schools there. Golden Valley decided to cease operations of its charter here in Truckee in March of last year, leaving many students and teachers without a school mid-year. This is where FOTTW stepped in to run programming for parents like me who decided to homeschool while waiting for a new Waldorf charter school. The main cause I see as to why Golden Valley Tahoe could not sustain was that the governing board and the management team were located very far away, and the majority of their constituents were very far away in a very different community. There was little mutually beneficial community overlap, and not only was Golden Valley far, it started feeling very remote during COVID. There are some things we will do different financially, such as applying for federal funds in year 1 and startup support in year 1, and managing special education differently than they did. But the big difference is that by serving our local community, we will be closely connected to our stakeholders. Now I will hand it over to David, who will talk a little more about how we plan to meet the needs of this community. Thank you.
Hello. My family moved to Truckee in 2020 in part to be members of this River Sage community and give our kids access to the mountains and a public Waldorf school. We are part of the new growing population who are proud to call Truckee our new home. Previously, we were paying steep Waldorf school tuition in San Francisco, and you can imagine how appealing access to Waldorf education delivered through the public school system was for us. People are drawn to Truckee through this opportunity. We are among many families and friends who moved to Truckee to allow our children to attend a public Waldorf school hosted in these beautiful mountains. Our family believes a diverse community is stronger and more creative. We value Waldorf education model, but also want a socioeconomically and culturally diverse community. Such a community is harder to foster in a fully paid, private educational environment. River Sage will foster equity and inclusion both in its existence as a public school option and also through its marketing strategies, its equity and diversity committee, and its fully inclusive model for educating all students, including students with disabilities, low-achieving students, high-achieving students, racially and ethnically diverse students, socioeconomically diverse students, and English learners. The pandemic has brought many challenges for parents and educators. How do we address the mental health challenges, particularly in adolescents, associated with multi-year social displacement? How do we address the growth of technology versus its effects on society? As a tech entrepreneur, I think about this a lot. How do we mitigate the unintended consequences of technology? And as a parent concerned about the continuity of my children's education year to year, how do we bring teachers into the profession and retain them? Waldorf teachers move through the grades with their class, and this allows my children to enter the next school year, and their teachers know what they need. We believe Waldorf education can help provide a response to some of the challenges being faced in our country today. River Sage can help our community offer an alternative and inclusive educational option to its families. And with that, I'll turn it over to Bonnie River to talk more about the specifics of our educational model. Thanks, Bonnie.
So I come before you first and foremost as a grandmother who has been involved in education for more than 40 years. I have served as a principal of 3 different public Waldorf schools. When I came to Truckee, my first intention was to have a daycare, a beautiful daycare for the children whose parents were calling me here to do it. So I gave up my job as a professor at Touro University, where I headed a master's degree program training Waldorf teachers with master's degrees. So one of the things I did when I first came here was start with this little daycare, and it grew, and it grew, and it grew, to the point where the parents really actually understood why they wanted it. And so I come before you talking about why do they want it? Why do they think that this education is something they would like as a choice for their children? For one, I would not do this if it were not public, because it needs to have that open access that all children deserve to have for any kind of education in our country. The closest school to us that is a Waldorf public school is 27 years old. It's Yuba River Charter School. It's chartered out in Nevada County. It has a large, beautiful campus just outside of Grass Valley. The next closest one to us is another very large school. It's in Chico. It's Blue Oak Waldorf Public School. Other than those 2, which are really out of commuting distance for our parents, there are no other opportunities for parents who would like to choose this kind of education for their children. So I was recruited here to try to see if it was possible in this community to have a Waldorf school. And what I would like to really focus upon is what makes Waldorf actually unique. What is it about it? Well, at its heart, the very first Waldorf school was called an expeditionary school, to be honest with you. The people came to the New York City school and looked at how it was organized and how it taught in 3-week themes. These 3-week themes are carry the children through in a transdisciplinary way. They have to keep their own journals, write their own books, illustrate their own books, and I brought some with me if anyone's interested in looking at them. They do have to illustrate what they're learning. They have to learn to be good orators and speak strongly and present what they have written in their books. But alongside it, they have to have absolutely academic excellence. So I served on the committee that wrote a very large document called the Waldorf Curriculum Frameworks and its cross-correlation to the Common Core standards. We work from that book, and that's what we worked from when Golden Valley was here. It's the same book that I've worked with as a principal at other schools. Our progress reports reflect exactly that the students are being held to academic excellence in the Common Core standards. Now, another piece is that we have other building blocks to our program. These building blocks, besides academic excellence, are three of the building blocks that I brought with me as principal of a large public Waldorf school in Southern California. They all took awards, the Green Schools Award and many other awards. These are social emotional literacy in the form of our Compassionate Campus project, the eco-literacy, which is a hallmark of what we do here in Truckee, studying carbon footprints, working in cleaning out creeks and planting sugar pines and lots of other projects that are really important to our community. And also digital literacy, which is based on a program called Cyber Civics, which I helped to design at that large school in Southern California. It's one of the most popular civics programs in this state. Many, many schools use it. So we have those building blocks as very important to a certain aspect of how we do what we do. But also I'd like you to know that Waldorf schools are known for the 7 intelligences, the original 7 intelligences are the 7 liberal arts. Every class starts with song. Every class starts with reciting verses. Every class plays a recorder or a musical instrument. And it's all integrated into the topic that they are studying. So if they're studying biology, they may be studying the habitats of the animals in this area as well as around the world. So they may be drawing biome maps for this area, and at the same time, they may be drawing maps of Africa and the animals that are indigenous to that area. So it is an integrated one because they have to be able to sing songs from the area. They have to be able to recite verses and famous poetry from that area and create that all into their own books. So we only had one example here of their books. I think I'm going to move it along here, there, and it's kind of hard to see. But I have them here if anybody's interested. Yeah. So the idea that a child can learn by actively moving their body and singing, reciting, and using all the arts integrated to the education is really at the heart of Waldorf education. But I'd like to end with one thing, and I think John Dewey was absolutely right. The reason for education is to create a community structure of people who believe that the most important thing is good citizenship and really contributing to their community. And that actually was the original purpose and remains the purpose of Waldorf education. Thank you. I'd like now to introduce Karan Katilik.
Okay, so I want to do a time check. So we're at 15 minutes, and that was the time we had allocated for the presentation. So how much long? I mean, I want you to finish, so, but just please keep that in mind. Okay, thank you.
20 seconds.
First, I want to say thank you for hearing us out today and having us speak. My name is Karan Katalik, and I am a California certificated teacher. And I have worked in Waldorf schools for the past 12 years, working and teaching in grades 1 through 5. I'm representing this amazing group of educators you see standing here with me. I've been a part of this learning community in Truckee in its various stages and phases for the past 6 years now, some of us for even longer. And although the structure and dynamics of our learning community have looked different every year, what keeps us here year after year is the support of our community of dedicated parents, students, faculty, and staff, and the long-term relationships we as teachers develop over the years with the same cohort of students. Taking enrichment classes, I've been teaching some of my students since they were 4 years old. They are now 10. Our grades teachers teach their students from 1st through 5th grade. I was fortunate enough to teach kinder to my class as well. And our middle school teachers stay with their classes from 6th through 8th grade. We know these children inside out. We know their strengths. We know their struggles, their learning styles. We know their families and siblings and grandparents. We support our students through every developmental stage of their lives throughout this time. I mentioned I have taught and worked in Waldorf schools for the past 12 years. I was a teacher at Golden Valley Tahoe. When I became employed with Golden Valley, my intention was to stay with my class until 5th grade. Some of my former students are still taking enrichment classes with me currently. This is the group of teachers who were drawn to Truckee to teach Waldorf. We have stayed in Truckee to help found a new public Waldorf school to address the needs of the children we love so much. What I need the board to understand is that even after we lost our charter and our jobs when Golden Valley left, we stayed. We stayed because we understand our roles as mentors to our students. We are invested in the long-term connection we develop between teachers and students. These relationships that are formed help foster resilience, self-confidence, and empathy for others. And most importantly, the children feel seen by their teachers and by their peers. I believe this type of education is unique to this area, and I hope you can see that there is a need and a strong desire for this school to exist, and for these connections to continue to grow, especially considering the growing population of Truckee as a whole. We thank you so much for your time and consideration and confidence in our team. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our legal counsel asked me to present the following to you. A point of order. River Sage Charter Petition was listed as a closed session agenda item, but there is no provision in the Brown Act to consider a charter petition in closed session. As discussed in Education Code 47608, all meetings of the governing board of the school district at which the granting of a charter petition is discussed shall comply with the Ralph M. Brown Act. He just wanted me to get that on record.
Thank you. So that's the end of your presentation? That's the end. Okay, thank you. So I want to make sure everybody's going to talk, because I'm not going to take any more of these. So if you want to make public comment. So what we're going to do, as I said before, is the first person who's going to speak to us, I believe, is a student, Mina Jacoby. And then there's a second name on here, Orlando Hess? Orland. Okay, so that's two different people. Okay, terrific. So Mina, if you'll go ahead, back with Joan, and she's going to put you on the microphone, and then Orlando, I'm so sorry. Orland, if you will be ready when she's done, each of you will have 3 minutes to talk, and then the next person after Orland is going to be Ingrid. Okay. Sorry, when I don't have my glasses on, I can barely see. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, if you would go stand back there, that'd be great. And this is in no particular order, just however Joan handed these to me, so I'll just keep letting you know who's up next. You have 3 minutes, and it'll be on the screens here, and that's just so we can have everybody have an opportunity to talk. Yes?
I just wanted to make a comment before public comment started, because I'm also a parent, not just a board member, and I was really touched by the emotion that you all could not see in your teachers' faces, and I wanted to acknowledge the teachers. I am sorry that you were hurt, how you were hurt by your last governing what have you, but I just wanted parents to know that it was very clear that they were affected by whatever and that they're dedicated to your kids. And I can't sit here and not let you know what I saw.
We feel it every day. Thank you.
Okay. Please go ahead and start, sweetie.
Thank you all for coming here this evening. My name is Mina. I'm in 6th grade. Thank you for listening. Over rough roads and through hardships, our Waldorf community has stuck together to ensure a level of learning that I appreciate every day. I was the last person in my grade to learn how to read. I hated reading. I thought it was the dumbest thing on planet Earth. You're probably thinking, how did you learn how to read? My teachers supported and encouraged me, so by the end of my 3rd grade year, I was reading and spelling above grade level. Our teachers will go above and beyond to ensure students are supported despite differing abilities. They also differentiate to provide challenges to those students who display strength in certain subjects. A supportive and engaging learning environment allows my classmates and I to be the best versions of ourselves. The curriculum brings our class together. We create, research, draw, write. We put ourselves in the shoes of people throughout history. Our curriculum provides an experience that will leave a lasting effect. My family and I want this type of education to continue in Truckee. Members of the TTUSD board, please consider accepting our charter petition.
Orland?
Good evening. My name is Orland. I'm in 7th grade and I've been in Waldorf education my whole life. In our classroom, we connect to our curriculum through art, music, and experience. We divide our academic year into blocks that represent subjects such as Renaissance, medieval times, and business math. We create our own lesson books for each of these blocks, which helps deepen the learning and experience. Every day we have the opportunity to compose elements of this learning in our main lesson books, allowing me to better understand moments, cultures, and events throughout history. In our most recent block, Renaissance in Perspective, we studied some of the great artists of the Renaissance. When we studied Leonardo da Vinci, we wrote a poem by him backwards, just as he wrote backwards in his journals. We also studied Michelangelo. Our teacher had us draw a section of the Sistine Chapel on the ceiling of our classroom, just as he painted on the ceiling. These experiences I'm exposed to on my academic journey allow me to connect more deeply to my learning and curriculum. I feel very grateful for my education, and I even love doing my homework. Please consider approving our charter so students in Truckee have access to this education. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Orland. Indigo, and then the next person is Brian Hess.
Hello, thanks for coming today. My name is Indigo. I'm in 6th grade. I'm going to talk about the supportive community and the curriculum that helps me learn. For example, this community was so helpful when my parents needed help driving me to school. Parents from my class worked together to develop a carpool system. This is just one example of how we constantly work together to solve problems and support one another. Because of this solution, I get to hang out with my friends every morning on my way to school, which I really enjoy. Our community is so tight-knit, we have potlucks and festivals throughout the year to give us the opportunity to play games, sing, dance, eat, and connect with each other. I've always been Waldorf educated, except for 4 months last year I attended Forest Charter. I couldn't wait to get back to my old friends and the hands-on activities and learning that occur in our curriculum. These teaching methods make such a big difference in my learning. I am more excited to be in the classroom every day, and it's easier to learn when I get to do it through experiences. Please consider approving our charter so we can continue. Thank you for listening.
David Hess. Okay, and after David Hess, if you could please just be ready, right after David is Joanna Close, please.
I'm Brian. Okay, can you guys hear me? Okay, I think the proof is in the pudding right there with those 3 kids. So, nice job. I know what you're thinking, like Waldorf, I thought it was a salad, but it's also an education, right? You know, it's over 100 years old, and so you might be thinking this is something interesting. But anyways, so I just looked it up, though. There are over 1,200 Waldorf schools and 1,900 Waldorf kindergartens in the world. and that's in 70 different countries. Anyways, my name is Brian Hess. I've been in Truckee for 19 years. My wife and I have both had businesses in Truckee for the last 15 years. We've had Bespoke in downtown Truckee for over 10 years. We're deeply connected in the community. My wife can't be here tonight, but she's been a part of the TDMA, the Truckee Downtown Merchants Association. We're deeply invested in Truckee and our community. I went to school to be an educator. I got a teaching credential at Sierra Nevada College. I taught in public and private schools. I taught at North Tahoe High. I taught at Lake Tahoe School in Incline. And so I have a little bit of experience of being not only a parent now, but an educator before I was a parent. So I kind of know the mainstream schooling that occurs. So anyways, from my experience, Waldorf School is, I've been involved in this school since the beginning. My mother-in-law is Bonnie River there. So I really had no choice. But so I learned by trial by fire. But in my experience, I went to just conventional mainstream schooling, public school, and what I've experienced with Waldorf is beautiful. I mean, that was my son who says he loves doing homework. He's not lying. It's not a show. He loves homework. Both my kids love school. They come home fired up for the next day, and it's just beautiful. They come home literally singing songs and just so excited about what they're doing. They can't wait to go back the next day. But Waldorf, infuses art, music, life, experiences, culture into all of its learning through every single lesson, and that's what I think is so beautiful about it. I think 19 years of being in Truckee, I've seen it go through a lot of changes, especially in the last couple of years with the pandemic and a lot of people moving here. Adding a Waldorf school is going to attract beautiful people, these citizens of our earth, to our town, and I think it'll put us on a map for having just not only Waldorf schools, but all this host of, expeditionary learning and homeschooling and Waldorf education and mainstream education, just different opportunities for students to choose if they move to Truckee. And the last thing I'll say, I'll just keep this kind of short, but we have been through a pandemic. We've been through a mismanaged, charter management organization. We've been through, and hurdle after the town of Truckee. But we're all here tonight.
So, I appreciate y'all applauding for the kids. With the adults, we're going to have people with differing points of view. So if we can kind of keep it chill, that would be really nice. So thank you. So this is Joanna Close, and then I have Mark. Does Mark know who Mark is? Okay, thank you. So if Mark could be ready, please. Thanks, Joanna.
Hi there. So I'm here to be the first to speak in opposition of the charter petition by River Sage. During the 2021-22 school year, I was employed as a part-time speech-language pathologist at what was then known as Golden Valley Charter Tahoe School. Given my personal experience with this particular school community, my professional background as a speech-language pathologist, my community membership as a parent, wife, and employee of our local public schools, and my financial interest as a taxpayer, I feel very strongly that TTUSD should not take on River Sage Charter School. They disavowed their governing body and charter holder, they excluded special education, and revealed a toxic culture of misinformation, have a record of financial insolvency, and demonstrated a poor understanding of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Many in the local community heard of the abrupt school closure in March, but few are aware of the events precipitating that, all of which is public record in Golden Valley's board agendas and minutes. The teachers actually wrote a secret letter to the families renouncing the school's leadership, without any attempts to problem solve or especially any consideration of the students they purported to care for. Special education staff were not included, deliberately excluded even, in the discussion, writing, and dissemination of that letter. Not surprisingly, the greatest cost of that letter was the explicit exclusion of students receiving special education support and services. As an aside, a few of these teachers were not just complicit, but outright conniving and cruel to my resource specialist colleague. In over a decade of professional experience in this capacity, I've never before witnessed such toxic interpersonal communication. To be very clear, These teachers more or less initiated a coup, with the end result being the deliberate removal of special education. They made decisions without regard for our most vulnerable students. It was my experience that the majority of the staff had little training, understanding, or even tolerance of students who they perceived to present challenges, thus perpetuating a culture of exclusivity. It's also important for the community at large to understand the Waldorf approach to literacy. Waldorf education delays even the introduction, let alone the instruction, of skills such as letters and letter sounds. The research clearly demonstrates that the majority of children need explicit instruction about letter identification, phonological awareness, and phonics in order to be strong readers, and that these concepts should be introduced at 5 years of age. While the charter school's petition purports to adhere to Common Core standards, how is it possible for them to simultaneously use the Waldorf model and follow state standards, while the two are in direct opposition when it comes to early literacy? I have read the petition and can see how nice River Sage might look on paper. I can imagine it might appeal to local families. But based on my personal and professional experience just a handful of months ago, I simply do not believe that the same group of individuals can or will translate their words into actions and center inclusion, equity, or fiscal responsible for our Tahoe Truckee community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joanna. Good timing. Okay, next we have Mark, and then if Richard could please be ready next.
Ready to go?
Yep, ready to go.
Hi, I'm Mark.
Can you talk and please speak and get closer to that.
Hi, I'm Mark. I'm a parent of 2 kids who would like to go to River Sage, once the charter is approved. I just wanted to come out and show my support for the charter application. In regards to the last comment, I know many of the parents here and many of the kids here, and it doesn't seem like any of them are illiterate like the last lady mentioned. So I just want to point that out because I was personally very offended by what she said. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so next we have Richard, and then if Deb Baldwin could please be ready. Richard, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Richard Ludke. I'm actually currently running for one of those seats, Kim, your seat right there. I am here, though, tonight in support of this charter. It's important. You can see just with the parents that are here tonight how important it is to them as well. More importantly, how important it is to their children. This is something that the community needs. It's something that I support, not just this group, but all charters. It's important that parents have a choice. It's important that children are given those opportunities in this community. So I'm here tonight hoping that you all will approve this petition that's being brought to you tonight. And with that, thank you very much for your time and let me speak.
Thank you. Okay, could we please not, thank you. Deb Baldwin and then David Stakely.
Hi. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. My name is Deb Baldwin, and I have lived in Truckee for 48 years, probably longer than almost anybody here. My husband and I owned the Passage Restaurant and the Truckee Hotel for 13 years, and we have been very involved in the town and all the different, Mark was in Kiwanis and all the different things that come with living in a town for this long. We have raised our 2 older children in Truckee. Our oldest son is 30 today, and our daughter, Jamie, is 26. And I was involved in starting the Prosser Charter School out at our property that we now have, Hoskatasan, a million years ago, however many years ago it was. That's now Forest Charter. It morphed from Prosser Charter into Forest Charter. My daughter, Jamie, graduated from Truckee High, and my son Jared graduated from Forest Charter. So I'm very knowledgeable, I guess, on what is available to us in Truckee. And I think that Mark and I are now raising our 7-year-old grandson. So it's a little different for us than it was raising our older kids, but now raising 2 generations of children in this town, we know for sure that kids are all different, and they learn different, and they need different things. And we believe that the Waldorf Charter School is a great option for our town. There's been a lot of changes in the 48 years I've lived here, or what is it, 48 years. We have a lot of new families. There's a lot of changes that need to be incorporated into our community. These people that can live wherever they want to live because they can work remotely. And I think that they are able to look at all different options of places to live, and they're going to look at our beautiful town and maybe are looking for Waldorf education and where they want to move to. I believe that everybody who wants to live here because of the outdoors and our beautiful area. Waldorf education is a perfect match for that love of our outdoors. I believe many people that are moving here are looking for that, and there's also so many Waldorf schools in the world, in the country, that there will be people that will move here because of a Waldorf education in a public school. Sorry, I'm all dried up.
We have about 18 minutes seconds.
Seconds. Families that have become, all of these families that have become very close. When we started raising our grandson, we started with the preschool that Bonnie was talking about, which became Little
Deb.
Gems.
Thank you.
And here we are in this wonderful
Thank
community.
you. Okay, Dave Stakely and then Billy Griffin. Please be ready next. Go ahead, Dave.
Great. Hello, my name is David Stakely, and I'm high school teacher at North Tahoe High School, a union leader representing our close to 300 local teachers, as well as a local resident. I'm speaking tonight on the topic of the River Sage Charter School proposal and asking the board to deny this proposal. I'm deeply concerned about the proposal to add another school to our local area funded by our local property taxes, and importantly, decreasing the money available to fund our outstanding TTUSD public schools in the district. Specifically, this proposal would reduce the revenues available to run TTUSD schools by $1.6 million at opening, rising to $2.6 million at full implementation. To put that in context, if you estimate the average teacher salary and overhead costs are around $100,000, this would mean we would lose about 16 to 26 teachers overall, or somewhere around 2 teachers from each of our current school sites. The previous incarnation of this Waldorf school failed mid-year due to issues with declining enrollment, as well as transportation, buildings location, and finances. I see nothing in this new proposal that would address these issues, and thus I expect them to have the same issues with the new school, but only this time they're asking TTUSD families to spend public money and to forfeit their students' teachers to support them. Also, as a longtime traditional public school teacher, I think it's important to note that this petition doesn't budget enough proportionally to serve students with disabilities or English language learners, populations that TTUSD schools make great efforts to serve well. The lack of support for these specific student populations is often an issue with the charter movement in general, but this application does not address this persistent problem. Public funds spent in public schools should serve all students with a free and appropriate public education, including those that need additional support. As a union leader, I'm also troubled by the fact that this petition aims to employ staff that doesn't have access to benefits. Specifically, they won't have access to adequate retirement plans like PERS or even a 401k. How do they expect to hire additional teachers and staff in our current educator recruitment crisis by offering a substandard employment package? Our own district locally already has many teachers working on overages and is having increasing difficulty hiring classified staff, all while paying more than is planned in this proposal. Again, the finance of this proposal doesn't work out. Together, these concerns make it clear that this proposed school won't improve the educational opportunities locally and serve all local families well. This charter petition should be denied. The Truckee Unified School District provides a tremendous educational program to students and families already and would not be improved by spending public dollars to fund a reconstitution of this previous Waldorf school. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Hello? Okay. Thank you. My name is Billy Griffin. I'm a resident of the area for 35 years. My wife was born and raised here. And I'm the owner of New Moon Natural Foods, a business in town that's been here for 25 years, well integrated into the community. I'm here to support the River Sage Charter application. I'd like to start by wondering aloud why it is that the district, which pays really well and has benefits, is having a difficult time finding teachers. And this community has teachers who are willing to endure incredible difficulties, get paid less, and still do it. And that is a real testament to the kind of community that we have and the kind of alternative that this education provides. It provides something to really believe in. I have a daughter who's been in the Waldorf program for 3 years. She's in first grade now. She's been there since TK. She's a smart kid, but she's a reluctant learner, a reluctant reader. And she has always been far behind her peers in that area, just doesn't want to do it. And that's been an area of concern for my family and for particularly my mother, who's spent her life in education. But her Waldorf teacher, principal, and all reassured me that the Waldorf process, which embraces reading a little bit later in the process, will bring her along. And sure enough, here we are in first grade, and she's starting to take off. And I wonder what would happen if I had her in a different school and we tried to force her to learn, because she doesn't react well when I try to do it. Would there be a dislike of reading? Would she dislike her teacher or education in general? Instead, she's excited about school. She gets disappointed. She was disappointed today because it was a snow day until somebody said she could have a play date with one of her playmates. My point is that this is the perfect program for her, and that there are plenty of children out there who are well served by this kind of program. I'll conclude by saying it's the opinion of myself, and my family, that a diversity of educational experiences is a sign of a mature and well-developed community, and a willingness by the district to embrace educational paradigms outside the mainstream. Shows a dedication to that diversity of thought within our community, and the diversity of needs and experiences, even ones that are nuanced, like my own daughter's. I strongly encourage the board to embrace this educational model, this school, and this growing community of residents who so clearly would benefit from it. Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa Cruz. Melissa, and then David Manahan, please.
Good evening, everyone. I stand up here as a mother, a classified staff member for our school district, TTUSD, and the president for our classified union. I have a question for us all also to consider, and there's a lot of answers to your question, but we don't have time to address them in my 3 minutes. As a union leader, just as Dave Steakley said, our concern is for our staff members. We stand here to represent them. You guys will not be able to support a school without classified staff. And with that comes benefits. With that comes paying them accurate wages to live in this community. So that is my question, and my main concern is I've read quite a bit of information on this, and it was severely lacking those things for your guys' classified staff. You won't be able to support a school without them. We are incredibly crucial for this to work. So it's more of a statement and a question, I guess, in that sense. I also have a quick statement from a member who couldn't make it here tonight. A school bus driver for the district for over 15 years, but has been a part of the community for over 30, graduated from Truckee High. Children went to Glenshire, Alder Creek, and Truckee High. If she was here, she would ask the board to deny the River Stage charter petition because TTUSD has already found hiring classified support staff challenging in the current labor market. The petitioners have not described how they will overcome this difficulty while planning to deny classified employees one of the key benefits that attracts classified staff to a district job, a retirement through PERS. You guys don't even intend to offer a 401k. Without enough classified staff that will not be able to administer special ed and English learner programs or offer transportation for the low-income population in our community, this may not work. Not to mention, this will only add to our competition of attracting qualified quality applicants to our district. TTUSD has numerous school options for Tahoe Truckee families, and creating a new school that is unlikely to succeed won't enroll and serve all student groups as required by law and will duplicate many of the existing programs and services already available in our school district would be a mistake. I encourage you to deny this petition. Once again, that was from a member of our classified unit. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. David Manahan, and then John Halverson.
Hi, I'm David Manahan, Principal Director at CELS. First off, Board, I want to thank you again for your service to the district, and in particular, Galen and Kim. I'm not sure when your last meeting is, but a deep appreciation for all you've done for the last decade plus, so thank you for that. I certainly am not have any sides on this. I wanted to be here just to share our experience. We started our school 13 years ago and went through the similar process. And one of the things we faced was the scrutiny of the board at the time, which was quite different than this board. And that scrutiny really helped us become a better program and be a more effective school that we are today. And some of the areas that I hope that scrutiny happens as well for all of you, to make sure that the program that ends up happening is the best it can be, are things around, again, first off, curriculum. You've heard some of that already as an alternative model of education. There can be some holes or gaps in people's understanding of what that looks like. And I know that with Waldorf education, you've heard that it doesn't always align with state standards, and which is in part why Waldorf education is often a private program and not a public program. So I think that does need to be scrutinized. Saturation. So we've even faced this question 13 years ago. Is there enough students in this district to support another charter school? And in the current crisis, it's more about actually staffing. Is there enough staff? And that is something that I think that should be addressed, because even we, as a well-established school, are finding some staffing issues. Another one, which sounds like you have addressed well, is fiscal management. I know that the collapse of March wasn't necessarily all of your doing. And it sounds like you're connected with someone who was speaking who's part of a back office provider, which is fantastic. That's what we use. And so that is a big piece. And again, the scrutiny that we faced and the ongoing oversight has been very important. I work closely with the district to make sure we're meeting all of the requirements of reporting and budgetary finance and all that. But I think the biggest piece that I haven't heard much of, and sort of the biggest scrutiny that we faced when we started, was how do you mimic the diversity of the community? And I'm not hearing that here, which is unfortunate. And we work really hard to do that, and we've done that by, we reserve 40% of our school openings for low-income families. And it takes effort. Without that effort, charter schools often become somewhat elitist, and they cater to a very specific population of the community, and they don't actually address the entire community. So I hope that is something that you will all consider about how you can make sure that everybody has the opportunity to access the school. Thank you.
Thank you, David. John Halverson, and then Jeff Otter, please.
Thanks. Good evening, everybody. My name is John Halverson, and I'm here tonight as a parent. I'm also a former teacher at Truckee High School for 18 years and a coach before moving on to work for the California Teachers Association. So I do work with the Tahoe Truckee Education Association as well. I've worked out of 2 other offices with about 90 school districts with labor groups both in the certificated and the classified. I think it's awesome to see everybody here. I wanted to say that I'm here tonight to encourage the board to deny your charter petition, but to look into whether Waldorf or programs like this could be something that could be incorporated into our wonderful district. One thing that's not going to go away, my wife and I moved here in 1995. All 6 of our kids have been born here in Truckee. We've had kids attend Truckee Elementary, Alder Creek Middle School, Truckee High School for a brief period, and now Tahoe Lake Elementary and North Tahoe High School, where I live over in Tahoe City currently. It's an awesome district, working across Northern California, like I said, with 90 districts. I can't say that, unfortunately, everyone has the opportunities, the resources, the amazing staff and programs and opportunities for their kids like we do here. There are great charter schools out there. I know we have CELS, Sierra Expeditionary Learning, right here in our district that does a lot of outdoor education. I hear a common theme about nature. Yes, my wife and I moved here for the winter, stayed because of the summer, the old staying. And I just encourage you guys to continue and work with the board to look at how could we incorporate this. Friend and colleague Beth Curtis looked up, just for your information you might not know, Sac City School District has 2 charter schools that are part of the district. They're not, they have 2 Waldorf schools that are part of the district. They're not charters. So I would go on. I've had a lot of key points tonight brought up that I don't want to repeat, so I kind of skipped my notes. But all of you probably are aware that there's 8 reasons a district school board should or could deny a charter petition. And the one I wanted to focus on mostly was the part about making sure the governing board of the school district shall grant a charter for an operation of school under this part if they're consistent with sound educational practices and with the interests of the community in which the school is proposing to locate. Obviously, it's an interest you all have, and I've been going to these meetings off and on for 20 plus years here, and I have to say, unfortunately, my experience with charters is many of them do come and go, but the school district, the public school districts, don't come and go. They're here to stay. So I'd encourage us to work together and find ways that we could do that. I have talked with some of your staff over the past 2 years because unfortunately there was that turmoil you had with Golden Valley Charter, and that's often when I get looped in, is when charter educators come to me because what they were part of, what they had been part of founding, all of a sudden changes course. And then they realize their voice is no longer being heard and they want to organize or get support. So again, thank you for your time. I encourage the board to deny this charter petition, but I encourage all of you to keep working with our school district as one community, as one family, because I believe public schools are the foundation of our community, and I would like all of our kids to continue being connected together. And I believe the more we split off into separate schools, that kind of goes away. Thank you.
John. So Jeff Otter is next, and then Stephanie Bloom. So if Stephanie will be ready, please, after Jeff.
Hello. My name is Jeff Otter. I am with the California School Employees Association. I've been asked by TTUSD classified staff to come and speak to encourage the board to deny the charter petition. So as a labor rep for classified employees in Tahoe Truckee Unified, I've had the honor now for 3 years of helping these dedicated employees to stand up for the best working conditions, pay, and benefits that they can win together. It is my concern for the welfare of our classified folks and the students that they serve that compels me to show up this evening to implore that the board deny the River Sage charter petition. Tahoe Truckee classified employees serve nutritious meals to the children of this community and transport them safely between school and home, help them to learn to read and do math, make sure they are able to learn in clean, safe buildings on beautiful manicured grounds. They serve as connection points between the schools and parents. They make sure that critical district technology continues to function. They put carefully chosen books into the hands of students. They serve the district's most vulnerable and challenged students. Classified workers cleared snow today, starting at 4 a.m. so that you could park out there in the parking lot and walk safely up to this meeting. So what's this got to do with the charter petition before the board this evening? I would like to highlight 2 connections, 2 troubling connections. First, in failing to demonstrate a commitment to educating English learners, students with special needs, and economically challenged students, the charter petitioners are demonstrating that they do not share the values of inclusion and equity demonstrated by classified workers who serve every student in the district and students' families with equal dedication, compassion, and skill. River Sage seeks to make itself an island of privilege, locked out of reach of students who rely on home-to-school transportation. This acts as a tacit refusal to serve students who come from families who do not have the means to provide their own transport because they can't afford gas to get around the lake or because they have to work longer hours than would allow such a school commute. Similarly, by under-budgeting for English learners and special education services, they exclude students with the greatest educational needs from their island of privilege. I know those aren't the values of classified workers, and they aren't the values of the Tahoe Truckee community. Similarly, we are quite troubled, and you can read on page 133 of the charter petition that what River Sage is offering classified support services in retirement is Social Security, right? So what they're telling their potential classified employees is that you are worth the bare minimum. And I tell you, I work with classified employees every day, and they are worth as much as you can give them.
Thank you. Okay, Stephanie Bloom and then Rosa Davis, please. Stephanie, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Bloom. I am a resident of Truckee for 26 years. I started out as a Head Start teacher, and then I started working in nonprofits in our community. I worked as a director for Sierra Nevada Children's Services, and then later for Project Mana. I have worked very closely with our highest at-risk community, and I have also taught in both charter schools, private, and now public. I have a high school student that I've raised through our community, and I don't think anyone would deny the dedication and love that I'm seeing in this room. It's everything we wish for as educators and parents, your commitment and love. But I guess because I taught first grade, I like to think of our community as a garden, and we have areas of our garden that we need to tend to. And I would say at this time in our community, we should devote our resources to our existing school programs because they are wonderful and they are growing, and we need to be patient with them and give them all of our attention. And that's not to say that there won't be a time for your program. I think there will be, and I think there should be. I think it's just wise to take more time sowing your seeds, building your program, and taking a look at some of the pieces that are missing, in my opinion. And that would be an excellent retirement program for your employees and better pay. And again, there's no denying your love and commitment. I met Bonnie River when she first came to town. I observed at your school. I myself taught at a Krishnamurti school, very different and unique. And yes, we do deserve lots of options. And I would be thrilled if I had a young child, I don't, to have those experiences. But right now, at this time, our staffing situation is a crisis. We do not have the staff we need on site. And our school district knows that, and they're working very hard. But if we take away from that process and lose staff to another school site, I think we all might suffer a little bit. So I think for this time, I would deny the Riverside Charter, but that's not to say moving forward it couldn't be considered again.
Thank you. Rosa?
So Rosa's on her way back, and if you put her at the end, and if
Okay,
she's here
how
when
about-
you get here.
How about Kelly?
Norris, right
Norris.
here. She's right here.
Hi. I wish in hindsight I would have brought my kids because I loved the kids' presentations. They were really cute. And it would have been nice to have some of our elementary school and middle school kids to just tell you how wonderful their experiences are too. So I've been teaching now at TTUSD for 20 years, and I just want to address like the things that you guys said with the SEL, social emotional learning. We have wellness centers at all of our sites, and eco-literacy. I just took my environmental science class out to Blackwood Canyon last Friday to do stream monitoring. We worked with the Forest Service. We worked with the USGS. My son's class went outside last week. My daughter's class is going outdoors, supposed to be tomorrow. So we do that eco-literacy. We are always acknowledged by the U.S. News as for our excellence in education. And as far as digital literacy, we had a month-long monitoring for students to look at what they're using their technology for, and to just acknowledge healthy versus unhealthy use of technology. So all the things that you said are what we're doing. And I want to echo what John Halverson said. I would love to join forces because I see like the love and the enthusiasm in this group as far as you care about your kids' education, and we care about our kids' education too. And I gotta say, I work with the most phenomenal group of teachers at my school. I truly believe in every single one of them. Nobody just shows up. Everyone, comes ready to do their thing. There's math classes that go outside to show relevance. There's English classes that do yoga to get kids excited about, the Indian culture. So we are doing these things, and wouldn't it be great to be a part of that? So the teachers who are looking for classrooms, yes, come join our classrooms. Come join TTUSD. So that's what I want to say. I just want to keep it positive and say I think that the charter should be denied at this point, but I would love to welcome you into our communities. I'm sorry if you've had poor experiences so far with public school, but I would encourage you to just give us a try again, because I do think there's just wonderful things happening every day in classrooms around this district. That's it.
Thank you. Is Rosa here? No. Okay.
Here, so
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, then I will close public comment. Thank you very much to everybody, especially our kids who got up to speak. We really appreciate it. So now we are going to move on to the board's questions for the applicant. And if you want to maybe be up here, that'd be great. Of course. Absolutely. Absolutely. So Galen, do you want to start? No. Does anybody want to start? Me? Okay. Okay. I have a pretty long list, but I'm retired now. It gives me more time to do research. So I apologize. Yes. So I just wanted to start off by saying the way I remember it, I thought we were on the board when cells opened, so maybe I'm misremembering. But this is the second time this board in the last, say, 14 years has been asked to actually consider a charter. And we currently have a wonderful relationship with CELS, but it is Sierra Expeditionary Learning School. I don't know how many of you know about their expeditionary program. And we're really proud to have our charter school as part of our TTUSD family. It's just been a really positive thing for the district, and most importantly, the thing that we always think about in every decision we make, and that's for the kids. That's why we're here, only for the kids. I think everyone in here has only the kids' best interest in mind. I thought that was said beautifully just a few minutes ago. But it's my job as a trustee, I believe, to fulfill my fiduciary responsibility to the district as a whole, right? So the 4,000 kids that we have in our district in the various programs that we have. And as somebody alluded to, we have somewhat of a prescription that we follow through this process, what we can consider and make decisions on to either accept or deny a charter petition. So some of my questions are going to be based on that, because it's not whether I like it or not, but we really have a prescription on what we can do. Let's see. I have 3 kids. My oldest is 27, but they were all born here. They all went through the schools here. I can very much remember being so worried when Sarah started kindergarten and where she was going to go and how she was going to be okay. And then I cried when she went to Alder Creek Middle School for 6th grade because it was different. And I mean, yeah, I can still remember that. And now they're all reasonably functioning adults, all 3 of them. So I really have wholehearted empathy for parents who are fighting for the kind of education that you feel is best for your kids. So let me just state that up front. So let me start asking some questions based on reviewing the 200 and whatever pages that you guys turned in. So I have to be honest, I'm really having a hard time understanding the entities involved. You addressed it a little bit in your presentation, but so far in the petition, related to the petition, I've seen River Sage, Golden Valley, Little Gems Preschool, Sierra Sage, Wild River, and Friends of the Tahoe Truckee Waldorf. And so can you help me to get less confused about the relationship of those entities, please?
Yes.
So River Sage is the name of the charter school. Little Gems of the Sierra Preschool is the name of the preschool or early childhood education center that serves 18 months
Yes.
to currently 4 years, though likely as Universal TK rolls out, most kids aren't, right? Most kids will go to public school for Universal TK. But so Little Gems, River Sage, Sierra Sage is the 501c3 nonprofit that is the governing board that will oversee the River Sage charter petition.
But in the petition, it says Little Gems.
So currently,
Board.
right, so our current legal entity name is Little Gems of the Sierra Preschool, Inc., but we will be changing that. And I think in the documents with the bylaws and the articles of incorporation in the appendix, we made a memo to that effect.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Keep going.
Okay, so Friends of Tahoe Truckee Waldorf, or FOTTW, is a totally separate 501c3 that is a supporting organization. So they fundraise. They're currently running a homeschool enrichment center called Wild River, which is providing enrichment classes for our kids, for those of us who are homeschooling right now.
Okay. And then Golden Valley.
Yeah, so just to finish on FOTTW, Friends of Waldorf, they're the group that also purchased the 40 acres with the help of the benefactor, and that oversee Hoskatasten and have remodeled that whole building and procured buildings to be able to get ready for having a campus.
Okay.
And then your other question was?
Golden Valley.
Yeah, Golden Valley.
Okay, so in the third year of,
I don't know if you still have the clicker. Oh, we don't have the presentation.
we don't have the presentation, but in the third year of this group, FOTTW, coming together and looking into starting a charter school, we were approached by Golden Valley as a charter management organization from Sacramento. And they came up and made us an offer, and we met with your then superintendent, who recommended we go to Newcastle. We did. We went to Newcastle. And what Tracy presented is actually so. We did not have anyone on the board there. That's the first thing. There was no one on the finance committee represented from our school to down to there. There was no inclusion in the leadership teams. They literally ran from a distance without connecting. So that is how the breakdown happened.
Okay.
Yeah, totally separate organization.
Totally separate. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Sierra Sage.
Okay. So then I'm also having trouble understanding the main folks involved in the petition. So you called out who is the founding executive director?
So that person isn't hired yet. We don't have that position.
Can you speak into the microphone because you're on public TV?
Right, that position isn't hired yet, but we'll be filling that position. So we included some.
Your mic's not on. But we heard. Please, is the
There we
green
go.
light on?
The founding executive director is not yet hired. We have put in there a couple of resumes of folks who might be options, myself and Kate Panowek. We're also options for business and operations manager, right? So I think once the petition is settled, then we can move toward focusing on hiring.
Okay. And who is the principal?
Bonnie.
Well, at this point, I would step in as principal, and we will be recruiting, because I'm coming close to retirement age. So we will be recruiting.
Who was principal last year?
Last year, Barbara Linares.
Okay. And that person worked for Golden Valley?
She did, yeah. She's a supporter as well.
She's on the advisory group now
Okay.
for us.
And then one of my questions was, are you assuming the same or close to the same teachers? And I'm assuming from what we saw this evening of this dedicated group, that's, okay. So another question, and others have alluded to this, have you done research on the other elementary schools at TTUSD to understand what programs are actually available? Because I reacted a lot, like, I have to be honest, as I read through your PowerPoint presentation, like, well, we do that, and we do that, and we do that. So tell me about the research you did surrounding the other elementary schools in the district.
Okay, for the most part, it had to do with talking with teachers, because we're friends with the teachers in your district. So we have a real clear picture of these wonderful programs, and we don't have a criticism whatsoever. We have a feeling of collaboration and connection. What makes us different is the Waldorf curriculum and the Waldorf teaching methodology.
Right, so I think one of the big aspects
But
that...
without using the word Waldorf, what does that mean? Because you talked about expeditionary, you talked about multi-age, both of which we currently offer. So
one of
please-
the big things that I think we tried to touch on was looping.
Yes.
So our teachers stay with the kids for multiple years, from 1st through 5th and from 6th through 8th. So I think that's one really unique aspect of Waldorf that I personally am very compelled toward, because it allows a deeper relationship to grow over the years, so there's less catch-up time each year as they start with a new teacher. Is there something else you know?
Well, what I didn't mention is the core principles, the 7 core principles of all Waldorf schools worldwide, and it's based on an image of the human being as body, soul, and spirit. It has to do with this ability to see the thinking human being as a spiritual human being, not just as a thinking human being. It also has to do with developmental stages, what you teach and how you teach at each age. So the introduction of the curriculum is very carefully laid out, and that's why we went through, I could show you the documents, it's very thick. We went through every Common Core standard. We do phonemic awareness in our first grade immediately. Our kids are reading, and if you look at the scope study, they do very well. But the idea is that we are bringing a curriculum in a different organizational pattern, which has to do with how the child can comprehend the stories we're telling, the things we're doing. One of the hallmarks of Waldorf is that the teacher is a storyteller, not necessarily only reading. They read too, but they're a storyteller every day. They are drawing board drawings on their blackboards that pull the whole theme together of the curriculum. So each stage is very carefully, this is 100 years old, so each stage has been absolutely unfolded in a curriculum. So,
thank you. So, and part of the reason I'm asking this question is that's one of the criteria that we have to look at is, do we already have programs, similar programs or similar offerings?
yeah,
within the
most school districts have not seen that they do the same program as Waldorf at all. So there's now 30 of them in the state of California, and this same question has been asked at any district where the authorization was being asked for.
Great, thank you. So another area that we are charged with looking at is the overall financial impact on the district. And one of the slides you didn't show this evening, but was in the slide deck that you gave us, was a discussion that the granting of the charter would not have a fiscal effect on the district. And I'd like you to speak to that logic, please.
Oh, and sorry, I don't think I said it would not have a fiscal effect on the district, but I think what that slide spoke to was that the vast majority of our students are Truckee residents and TTUSD students. So these are all students that fall within your purview of serving, right? So what I spoke to was one of the concerns that was brought up to me by your fiscal team was that you are a basic aid district, and so therefore our funding will largely be in the form of in lieu property taxes. So the district receives property taxes, but we receive in lieu property taxes. So that means that our property taxes are actually capped at a lower amount than you guys get per student.
You're talking
as
about
long as it's
the
basic
local
aid.
control funding formula.
Right,
amounts.
yes. So you receive LCFF funding, which is made up of state aid and in lieu property tax. So I showed in that slide a sample of cells from last year, speaking of cells, because they're the only charter in the district. And you could see that their per student property tax was about $8,800 last year, whereas TTUSD received about $14,000. So that was just to show you that while we will receive property tax, and I can say I'm a property taxpayer in Truckee, and most of our parents are, so our students will receive property tax through the district, but it's actually going to be a lower rate than what the rest of the district students receive.
Yep, and I agree with that. That is fact. The other fact is that it will take approximately 1.6 to 2 point whatever million away from the general population of the
But if they
school
were
district.
served in the schools, which they would be otherwise, it would take even more.
But they wouldn't because of the there's not an incremental cost to adding one student to one class or two students because
we have 70 students.
I
so.
understand that, but
yeah,
I mean you're a financial, you know what I'm talking about. So
right,
I don't. It's not. it's not matching. Let's see. I do have to confess, I have concerns about the past history of the school running at a deficit. So that's going to be something that we're going to have to overcome for this petition. And I had a question about Golden Valley, but I won't ask that based on
Yeah,
your-
it's hard for us to speak, because they're not our entity, but as someone who has worked with many school budgets, and I currently work with, the 4 schools that I'm working with, I think there were many things I saw in their budget, one of which I alluded to was special education, but no federal funding. That was a choice they made. They didn't take any startup funding because it's federal. So it was a challenge.
Sure.
And we're different. Like, I'm used to working with federal funding. I actually did their con-op for them last year when they realized they should probably be taking federal funding. So I think there are lots of ways we will address it, and yeah.
I appreciate that. So let's stay on financials a little bit.
Sure.
So you had about 70 kids, and you just alluded to that number when you closed in March last year, and your projection is for 165 kids next year in 22-23, and it's important that you meet those enrollment objectives because that is the way you're going to be financially, or at least make your models. Whether I believe that your model is correct or not is irrelevant, and our staff will address that.
Mhm.
But you have to have the 165 kids under your current assumptions. So how are you going to more than double your student population in the right proportions throughout the grade levels between March and then next year?
Right. Well, so one thing we have pointed out is that Golden Valley's projection last year was actually 140, and I believe that was based on their actual enrollment. They lost a lot of kids between, September 1st they presented 140, and September 8th they presented 75. I'm not sure exactly when they lost those students, but I do believe they were at 140.
You guys were there, weren't you? Were there 140 kids? So are there going to be 165 kids? That's important.
That's what-
because we are supposed to say, yes, you will be fiscally solvent.
Yeah. And so I do believe there will be 140 kids, and then also we're planning on having 3 TKK classes because we know universal TK is rolling out, right? So there are more and more kids who are
right. I'll get to that
eligible for
financial
TK. So we also know that we have a certain number of students at our preschool who are interested in attending in these younger grades. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Terrific. Let's see. So, as I mentioned, we have a great existing charter. David Manahan spoke to that, and he also spoke to the thing that I remember was very, very important to the board and the community at the time of accepting that charter, which was mirroring the district's social and economic diversity. And so if you look at our, we actually are quite diverse in this community. Well, yes, I guess I can say that. So what I had an issue with in looking at what you presented in your petition, and I'd like you to speak to, is you are comparing our district to Yuba River Charter, which is not related to us in any way. I understand I learned tonight it was a close charter. But I really believe you should be including, and I want to hear your thoughts on why we didn't include Truckee Elementary or Kings Beach Elementary in your analysis. And then later on, you say that you will mirror Placer County, which is not our district. So how would you speak to those discrepancies, and how would you plan to mirror our district?
So I think you alluded to the length of this petition being well over, 200 pages already. So we were trying to limit the amount of data we fit in there, but obviously we do look at all of that data, and we understand that we would be held to meeting similar, we would need to meet similar demographics to the district, and we understand that. But
that's not what it says in your petition, unfortunately. It says
it
Placer
does say
County.
that we understand that we need to mirror the district.
It says Placer County.
Can you show me what page that's on?
No, but I'll.
Okay, I'll look at that, and then I can respond later, I
that'd be
guess.
great.
But
Yeah.
we understand that we have to mirror the demographics of the district. We limited the amount of data we showed so that we felt most relevant, but we understand that you're well aware of your district's demographics, and we want to meet that. And I think the gentleman from SELS mentioned their enrollment policy, and we're very open to making the same changes that they made in 2014, right? So they didn't have that when they opened. We wanted to keep the preferences simple for the petition approval because we are just trying to get it approved. But we definitely agree that that has proven very successful for SELS, and I think we would love to mirror that when we start having lotteries.
Right.
We also have an equity and diversity committee that we're going to convene in order to really help us focus on how to get those demographics in place and analyze who's applying, who's enrolling, why, who are we going out to locally that can reach these populations that are at Truckee L and at Kings Beach and bring them into our school as well. So it's definitely important to us, and yes.
And there's a large transportation barrier. So given there's some issues I'll get to with your facility, so how would you, so we have parents in our district who cannot bring their children to school and rely 100% on busing to get their kids to school. And we feed those kids 2 meals a day. So how would you get those kids to school who have parents who cannot get them to school?
Well, I think one of the things that we've been looking at is how our carpooling works and how we form pods together, who connects with who. I've been a carpool driver for SELS, so I've watched the carpools and how the carpools are organized there. And we set ourselves up with a very clear carpool app in order to be sure that people in the same areas can find each other, and that you don't necessarily, if your child needs a ride every day to school, that we're not going to be having it be equitable. Like, you have to then take them so many days. It's not going to be done like that at all.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the schools that I visit and travel to that are public Waldorf schools all go by carpooling. There aren't buses. So they organize the exact same way, making sure every child gets a ride to school and every child gets 2 meals a day. I wouldn't think we would be any different.
I can also say that the schools that I work with, again, they are in very diverse, socioeconomically challenged communities. We do not have buses, but the students take public transportation to school when they need to. And you know, that's a big...
Yeah,
no, I know, that's Los
not
Angeles,
here.
but, can I finish? I know that it's a big push in Truckee. I know that they're rolling out the regional TART on-demand service. I know that they're really interested in environmental impact and how public transportation can help that out. I can also say, of course, we would love to buy a bus when we can and have a bus driver when we can. This is just our first petition, and I'm sure SELS would speak to the fact that things can change dramatically as a school grows and becomes stable.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to move on to special ed because that's a huge, it's a huge cost for the district. It's a huge priority, and it's a very challenging area of education. So, you talk about El Dorado County acting as a SELPA? I think they call themselves a CHELPA. Or something like that?
Correct.
Right, ladies? Have you secured an agreement with El Dorado County?
No, we're in the process right now. They have, I don't know if you guys are familiar with El Dorado, but they're really thorough, really professional. So they have a very long process. So we have done the initial application, and the next step is November 7th, I believe. They're going to move on to round 2. And so there's a whole process to joining a SELPA. So, right, we're not complete yet.
And then there's a lot of talk about mainstreaming kids, but there are kids that cannot. So how will you address those kids?
Do you want to speak to that?
I could speak to that. I'm just going to speak to my experience with it. Sometimes you have special day classes that you actually need to congregate children into, but usually your charter schools don't offer that. I'm going to be honest. Usually they're not offered there. You do as much of the full inclusion as you can possibly do in the least restrictive environment as you can possibly do. You make sure you have pull-ins and push-ins and pull-outs. You make sure you have a special education room and a special education team that works together really well. But when it comes to what you're talking about, what I think you may be talking about, usually those special needs are put together through several organizations that make a special day class happen, for example. So this is what I'm used to when I worked with Capistrano Unified School District in Southern California. We could meet 95% of our kids that were in the special education category, and we were really good at it. And this is a public Waldorf school. We organized it well. We made sure the services happened properly and everything. But there are the children who have very strong special needs. And in that case, we need to help get them to the professionals that they need to have, that many organizations, many schools would feed into.
And that would be ideal, but we don't have that here.
Yeah.
Because we are geographically isolated. So
I know
most
you
of
are.
the time, the district office is providing those kinds of services.
Right.
The county office of education is,
Right.
but we don't have that luxury. So that is something that we have to accommodate in each of the schools here in the district. So,
Well, I wouldn't object to it. My background is special ed. I wouldn't object to that at all.
okay, thank you. So let's talk about your facility. So your petition says your facility is out on Union Mills Road. Is that correct? That's where you plan to operate?
So our petition actually says that it's at that location or another similar location within TTUSD. So, yes, but there's that further note.
But we're being asked to approve the petition.
Right,
with
so
the Union
with other schools
Mills.
I've worked with, oftentimes a startup school does not have a set location. So for example, the last school that I opened, or not me personally, sorry, but the last school that I worked with that opened last year, when the petition was approved, we did not have a location at all. However, when we have the location, we go back for a material revision and ask the district to approve the location. So in this case, we are asking you to approve this location, Union Mills Road. However, if need be, if for some reason, we can't locate there now or 10 years from now, then we would go back and say, we'd like to request a material revision for a different location.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with the Union Mills location for now and ask some questions because that's what's in your petition.
Right.
So I understand that you have a planning application in with the town of Truckee. Can you tell me what you envision being on that site through that planning application?
Would you like to?
Okay, I will speak for them, but I'm not as well informed as our planning group is. What right now is being applied for is an elementary school that goes up to 240 students. And a middle school, right, elementary, middle, it's a TK through 8 is what we're asking for at this point. When the original group came together and we did a lot of dreaming and a lot of planning and a lot of ideas, those things which we are not applying for now did include things like teacher housing, like animal husbandry, like a biodynamic garden and cafe. It had a lot of things. But right now, the current CUP is only for a TK through 8 school. And so that's what we're focused in on right now. And every once in a while, we get another loop thrown at us, and we have to meet it and work on it. So it's been 2.5 years.
So what is it going to look like? You have a current building.
Yeah.
And then what?
We have portable modulars out there already, ready to be seated into their foundations. We got them from you, from TTUSD. Thank you. And we're going to remodel them, of course, and make them come up to standard, and that will be important also, but that can include a TK through 8. So we do have enough housing to do it.
So my understanding is it's 5 modulars, is that correct?
I think it's 5 modulars.
And then
yeah.
And then the building is allowed to have 44 kids in it?
95.
The building?
We currently have a CUP for 44 students to be on site, and we're trying to amend that to 240 initially, and then go from there.
So the building would get bigger? You're going to build onto the building?
Well, there's several large classrooms in that building and small ones that are really conducive to special ed and special, school psychologists and stuff like that.
We
Yeah.
also have the 5 modulars. Oh,
Yeah.
hi, Lauren.
Hi, I'm Lauren Bello.
Hi, Lauren.
Hi, popped up. I just want to clarify the the use permit is for 44, but the occupancy for the building is 95 per the fire code. So depending on how the classrooms are configured, we likely wouldn't have 95 children there, but depending on how the classrooms are configured, that's what the fire code allows. So, and also I believe the CUP is for 7 modulars, 5 of which we own currently. Yeah.
And do you have the money in, I did not see money in your budget for the capital costs related to dealing with all that?
Right, and that's because of those entities, right? You mentioned the various entities. So Friends of Tahoe Truckee Waldorf is the owner of that land and the landlord. So they are the ones who are building out the buildings, who own the land, and who will lease it back to us. So what you see in the budget is lease expense, but none of the capital outlay, because that's all FOTTW.
And they're fully funded for that project, and that's ready to go forward if it's approved by the town of Truckee.
They're ready to go forward, absolutely.
And
But
they
they
have the
just did a
funds to do
major fundraising, just brought in the first big payment with $600,000. So they're working hard on it. And it's very established Truckee people who are really determined to make it happen. So I don't see any possibility that they wouldn't continue with what exactly they are doing. I mean, they've made it for 2.5 years without any income because of the CUP, and that's saying something.
So I understand.
And raising the first huge payment.
One of the things that you guys are going to be faced with is the requirement to reduce vehicle miles traveled with a new use. And so that, I understand you've had discussions about, only having the kids come to school 4 days a week, or maybe having longer breaks. But obviously, we have minutes that we have to fulfill as a public school.
Well, one of the things I can say is that I think the idea behind 4 days a week was that the 5th day would be, and our 5th day is a short day as well, but the 5th day would be Eco Literacy Fridays. So ostensibly, those could be off-site at, say, Donner State Memorial Park.
I don't think they can be, but.
You can't do field trips?
No.
It has to be I'm sorry, you'd have to prove that you're using the instructional minutes that we're bound by Ed Code.
Right, no, I
So-
understand that. They would be instructional minutes. They would be with our teachers, much like when you do a field trip day. These are instructional minutes. It's with their instructors who are credentialed and sign off on the attendance. It is instructional minutes, but.
Right, and it's also following a pre-written curriculum that shows you the life sciences in the curriculum, the earth sciences in the curriculum. It actually shows you the standards being met during those instructional minutes and with credentialed teachers. So it's not something that is just a field trip off with, it's not that at all. It actually has very clear evidence of the learning in it.
Yeah, I think the teacher who was just up here mentioned that she's planning a day like that tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think the other vehicle miles transit issue also that we're dealing with is kind of begging our older children to get involved in carbon emissions and figuring out where the carbon emissions are in our whole community. And then also working with this carpool app that is a very solid app that actually proves who rode in what car and what time, right? In order to try to track what our carbon footprint really is. They need to learn that, they need to understand it, and they need to compare it to any other entity here in Truckee to see what's the difference here in the carbon footprint. Right. So that's going to be one of our very first projects, is to look at that. We also are looking at acquiring a couple of buses.
Again, then you need to budget for that and have the fund. So
FOTTW is the
Okay.
one that's looking at acquiring them.
yeah, and that's not in your petition. So you see where I'm going, you guys. I'm not trying to pick on you, but we are trying to just understand the complete picture.
Yeah, and please let us know exactly what you would like to see to further answer your questions, and we're happy to provide more information.
I appreciate
for sure.
that.
Yeah.
I would like to say that a lot of the schools that I worked in, public Waldorf schools, had an FOTTW. They had a 501c3 that raised the money for them.
Sure.
And that got them onto the campuses they needed to go to and things they needed to do.
Right.
So
But you're asking us to grant a petition where you say you're going to open school next year. And so we have to see the real stuff.
Right.
That brings that to fruition.
Would
right?
that be looking?
That would be like money, right? and a budget that for that money. That's where I'm getting at.
Which we did provide.
Okay. Yep. And then your teachers are amazing. I agree with Chris. But you guys, I don't want to pick on you guys, but you have to be certificated with the state of California, and you have to have the multi.
They are.
Subject.
All
Okay.
of them are.
So we weren't able to. I looked and I couldn't find that for you guys, for the folks who signed the petition.
Yeah.
So just want to make sure that was out there and clear. So that's great. And then obviously single subject for middle school. Right.
Or multiple. Yeah.
Either one.
Yeah, okay. So one last question. This is kind of a weird, this is an interview question. What will success look like for you guys as you go through this process?
You start.
I guess what I would say, happy, self-directed children who in and of themselves impart purpose, meaning, and direction in their lives. That is a goal. But I also would say we want our children to be able to feel empowered to make change in the world. They need to be good writers. They need to be good speakers. They need to be good readers and researchers. So for me, to feel your purpose and direction, you've got to have those foundational skills, and the school carries that responsibility.
Thank you. Very well said.
I just was also going to say that I came in pretty new. I came in last year to this school and met with this turmoil, right? Like this started out our first week of school, and
I wasn't there.
My heart was breaking. I mentioned to you, I came into all of this because I started out as a teacher, and I really do believe deeply in the value of public education and empowering teachers and students through that. And what I saw was just heartbreaking, and I knew what could be, right? Because I'm used to looking at budgets, and I was able to see what could be and what wasn't happening. And it broke my heart, and I never, I never wanted to be up here, but we get called sometimes, and that's where I'm at. So success for me would be a strong community where everyone feels they have a voice, where everyone feels they're empowered to make a beautiful education for their kids.
Great. That's all the questions I had, believe it or not. Sorry, you guys. But I was, like I said, I'm retired. I have a lot more time now.
I love the question. I love that you read it.
Of course.
Yeah, I do
That's
too.
my job.
I would like to just speak to only one thing, and that is that in all the schools where I've been principal in a public Waldorf school, we've had really harmonious, good relationships with special ed and meeting special needs. I mean, we have a track record, and that's what the SCOPE study is all about from Stanford, how successful it really is. So
Thank you.
I wasn't there when this person spoke. I don't know what her experience is, but I know that it can be really a good experience.
Thank you. Galen.
I only have 3 questions. You said that part of your curriculum and your goals is to teach the core curriculum, same thing we do, the English language arts, math. How do you know if how do you test to see that it's happening?
Yeah. In all the schools that I've worked in, we've always given the CASP test at the end of the year and tracked our statistics and watched our growth. We also give the Easy CBM, which is another test that is recognized federally to be a predictor for the CASP. It's cross-correlated really strongly. So we use the Easy CBM for sure on a very regular basis. There are 9 Easy CBM tests to deliver each month and track progress through a classroom. We also have our progress reports that are very clearly lining out the core, what we call our power goals based on Common Core, what a child should be able to do at each age in math and language and sciences. We're working on social studies right now.
Yeah, and just to glom onto the CASP mention, because we are also a public school, like all your other public schools, we do all of the required assessments. So, for example, California Physical Fitness Test, California Science Test, the alternative assessment for students with disabilities. We'll do the LPAC for our English learners, et cetera, all the same ones.
So So Golden Canyon did the same thing?
Golden Valley.
Golden Valley?
Yes and no, from my experience. I was there the first 2 years of Golden Valley, and the difficulty was that there were not special education teachers procured well, and so we were at the kind of mercy of trying to get somebody in through the office in Sacramento, not through us. And so it was really, really difficult, but we finally succeeded and did have that. And we administered all these tests, absolutely. Every one that she mentioned, we did do.
Well, and actually, just to bring in another one of the challenges that Golden Valley was faced with was COVID, right? COVID-19 meant that testing was suspended for a period of time. So you probably don't see their testing results for a couple years because testing was suspended.
So you pretty much have the same teachers signed up now as were in Golden Valley. How did they do through the pandemic? I mean, do you have reports that, I mean, you should stick around and see how we did.
Yeah.
But because of that, I'd be interested in seeing, does it work?
Okay. We did the same thing I believe that you did. We offered online courses, and our teachers were meeting every morning with their students. And they had document cameras, and they were working with the document cameras and with PowerPoints and, addressing all the way through the day, math classes, language arts classes. Their morning expeditionary lesson was the first 2 hours of the day. They had to collect up and then distribute out packets of homework and things that the children were doing. So we maintained that all the way through, but at the end of that, there was no test because they got canceled. So what we did discover when they came back together again is that the children were actually, the learning loss that we were looking for in the easy CBMs wasn't as great as we thought it would be. And I think that's true for you here, too. The minute you all had to close down, you had your program up and running. It was real clear because I was watching, and it was really exemplary and good. And so what I looked at as I was then a principal there is every teacher got a document camera within a week. Every teacher had their plans to teach online within a week. So we knew what the hours were. I could visit into any of those classes and watch and do my own assessment. So we just continued on with it. Yeah.
So with the transition to the private school temporarily, or where you are now, was there no testing?
Yeah, we're homeschooling. We're not a private school.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
the parents all have registered affidavits of homeschooling for every child.
I'm enrolled through
And Creekside and Twin Ridges and a few others.
Homeschooling.
You were benchmarks, right.
been doing benchmark assessments.
All along.
So is that data available? Can we see it?
That belongs to Golden Valley.
No, our benchmarks, we all administered benchmarks in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, in the last couple of weeks, we did the easy CBMs.
But the CASP tests,
But
so that's
That's
what we're
kind
looking.
of voluntary because it's a homeschooling group. So, you mean right now? What have we
No,
got
for
now?
last year, when you were open.
When we were open, yeah, well, Golden Valley in March, so there was no testing that could be done. That's why immediately we put in the easy CBMs, because we needed to see where the children were.
So
I
that-
believe strongly in data collection.
They don't have the data.
Yeah, so you see my concern.
I do.
I just want to know how effective this is when you get down to, the real world.
Yeah, I think one other thing we can point to is results. I think we cited in our study the SCOPE study, which looked at a public Waldorf school in Sacramento and many other. They did a very comprehensive study of public Waldorf schools and how their students fared on, the testing. So there's a lot of data in there about other similar schools. But yes, Golden Valley probably has a lack of testing data.
So let me go on to my next question. You have a board now that's not off in Sacramento Valley somewhere.
Right.
Are those board members all residents in this area?
We are.
Okay. You mentioned the idea of the Waldorf school, and your objective is to have well-rounded students, and you mentioned spiritual. How do you teach spiritual?
This is a really good question. Actually, at the university level, I teach the First Amendment and Waldorf education to be sure that there's separation of church and state in everything that you do. But the idea that all major cultures were led by leaders who carried certain ethical values in certain direction. So you might start with Confucius or Lao Tzu. You might actually take the children, well, you don't, it happens in the curriculum. You teach them what each culture taught, what the major cultures taught. And you talk about how the children themselves embody that in their own nobility and how they act and how it dovetails to the compassionate campus and cyber civics and everything goes together in that way. But the idea that a human being is possessed of spirit is not written out in the First Amendment. And the spiritual background of the philosophy of Waldorf education absolutely does not cross the line into the First Amendment. So that's been tested and tried in the 9th District Court twice, and twice they've tossed it out. So I think some of the pieces where the people are drawn to it is that sense of honoring that spirit and how important that is, and that can't be, it can't be a teaching of any specific religion at all, or celebrating of any specific religions, festivals. We don't do that. We are very clear about what that is. But celebrating all of the world and all of the festivals and all of the pictures from the leaders of different cultures, that happens throughout the whole of the 8-year curriculum. And it's very clearly unfolded in a certain kind of timeline for the children's consciousness.
Thank you.
Yeah. Chris?
I don't have a lot of questions because obviously we've covered so much ground. One of the questions that came up for me is you keep calling them a publicly chartered Waldorf schools. Excuse me. So are there more that are not publicly chartered and are private schools? And why is it important for this particular group to be under a public charter versus making the choice to be private?
Okay. So a little bit of my biography. I was a public school teacher before I took the decision to become a Waldorf teacher, and the only Waldorf schools available in the 1970s, early 70s, were private. And there grew about 90 Waldorf schools within 5 years in the 1970s. And these schools were mostly middle class. They were not upper class. They had a lot of children of all different classes mixed, and it was real clear that it met the needs of demographically mixed groups and socioeconomically mixed groups. As time went by, those schools became exclusive. I hate to say it, but it's true, because the cost went up and the expenses, can I have my, went up.
I know, I feel like we're all pretty dry
So-
in this room today.
Yeah. And in 27 years ago, a group of us got together right after the charter school permissions were passed, and we started the first public Waldorf school, Yuba River. And that's still in existence today. That's where you can really check statistics and look and see. But we did it because, and this has been in my heart all my life, that we really wanted two things. One, open access for children. We did not want it to be based on finances. And the second thing for me was that I wanted to be able to provide services to special needs children. That's my love, that's my direction in life, and I didn't want to have a school that couldn't do that.
So do you, as a public charter, do you charge a tuition? No. Okay,
Oh,
I
no.
wanted to be clear on that, yeah.
No.
Okay, and then the other question I had is, how do you plan on serving English learners? Like, do you have staff that does this? How do you do it?
Okay. So when I was an assistant professor at Touro University, we did a major study on public Waldorf education meeting English language learners. And I have a publication that's really quite in depth. But What the Waldorf teaching methodology includes is a lot of communicative language. So there's a lot of body language, a lot of speaking and communicative language that is emphasized. Vocabulary is really strong. That's one of the things the scope study found, is the vocabulary was so deeply developed in the Waldorf culture. And that also world knowledge is huge. So a lot of realia, Sadai methods, things like that are intrinsic in the way Waldorf teachers teach, using a lot of things to show what they mean, you know. So we have found that English language learners progress really well, and that's in the scope study also, because when Linda Darling Hammond, who was the major researcher, looked at it, what she saw was integrated into the teaching methodologies were the 7 core reasons or ways that you approach English language learners. They were all there in the lessons. So she started timing how many minutes in each one of those areas the teachers were focusing in on, and she then, you know, published that in the study from Stanford.
Okay, so I'm not an expert, but I am an English learner. I came to the United States when I was 10 years old, and all I knew how to say was yes, thank you, and no, thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that for a little bit of background, because the programs that we have at our school that welcome newcomers, they're not always babies, right? They're
Right.
not always TK.
Right.
Some newcomers are 15, 17. So that was my curiosity as to how would you, if someone wanted to join your school, how do you help those kids prepare for an SAT? Or how do you prepare those students how do you help them prepare to get jobs or communicate? And I understand what you're saying, because I did learn that way.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I went to school when there wasn't a two-way immersion. I got
Right.
stuck in a classroom and sink or swim, right? That's what happened to me. So I'm just curious.
Well, as a public school, we administer the LPAC, and that's where you know to what level they need support. You once you know what level that they need support, then you start offering that tool. You offer what it is that they absolutely need in order to progress well. So it's not that it's only in the classroom and in full inclusion that they would just absorb and come along, but some students need that extra support in the English language, you know, lessons. And how to approach a test or how to look at certain things that's what you do in those, you know, those classes.
I
Yeah, I
appreciate
was-
that. I don't think I'm talking about needing extra support. I'm talking about a newcomer. When they walk into TTUSD, we have a program. So I was just wondering, like, if a family felt strongly or they know of the Waldorf system or curriculum, what do you do with those newcomers? Yeah.
Right, and I was just going to also mention that a little bit different from when you went to school is that now in California, all educators who have an EL student in their classroom are required to have a CLAD credential where they're, you know, they've demonstrated professional development in serving English learners specifically. So that would be the same for us.
And you have CLAD teachers?
Yeah, and we also have a high percentage of our teachers speak Spanish.
But are they BCLAD certified, certificated?
They would have to be. I don't know, I haven't looked since I got back, but yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, I just last week was in a school that had, without a name, can I say an example? Yeah. Whose family literally walked here from Guatemala. So how would you educate that student, right?
Yeah.
And that's extreme. Then we have higher income people that come from Latin American countries, Central American countries, that will still not speak a word of English. So I'm
Right.
just driving that.
School in Southern California called El Rio. It is 88% Hispanic, and it's a public Waldorf school. I watched as a new family arrived, and I know that the first things that you do is take them under your wing and tell them every service that's possible and how they can access things and how they can get what they need. Be sure that they're safe and secure, and these things that you offer out of your heart as a human being to another human being. And then the other piece is to get to know the children well enough to know what trauma they're coming in with, because that is another piece. So calling in the school psychologist and working in a team, we call it a transdisciplinary team. So we're at a young stage, our school. We haven't been faced with those things. But I can say that I know schools that are public Waldorf schools that have been and always are. So they have programs also, and very worthy of imitation, probably like yours is. So that's what I can say at this point. This is a very welcoming community. We do have some people who have joined this community who are what you're describing. And this community has cared well for those families. Yeah.
Thank you for this. I think a lot of the questions that I had made notes on have been addressed. The process is a learning experience for sure, because a lot of what you're presenting isn't hard facts of what you have sustained. Like, it's not there. So you have like an ED that's in place, or you've got something. So it's hard to put it all together, sort of for me to grasp the whole thing and just be like, okay, it sounds great, or wow, not going to happen at all. So I appreciate that you're presenting it all. I do have a lot of serious questions in terms of similar with financial, and then obviously bringing all the kids, basically our population being represented. But I think it's important to understand that your presentation right now has got some gaps that I have to sort of process through. Because for me to, as Kim was alluding to take on a proposal where we're going to take a financial hit is a hard thing to conceptualize without all the facts. So no questions, but just definitely I'm going to have to do a little bit more processing of how it all works out. So I appreciate all of your input.
I can also say, as I understand that you guys haven't had a lot of charter petitions submitted, so one thing I can offer up is that it's certainly appropriate for your staff to follow up with any additional questions or things they want to see, and we can provide that and to help you if you see a gap and there's something more you want to see.
It's hard to provide a track record when you don't have one. We're just getting started.
Much like Sal's back 13
Yeah.
years ago,
Yeah.
whatever it was.
What we can do is tell you that the track record of the Waldorf Public Schools, all 30 in the state of California, there's statistics to show how well they do.
I want to amend my comment about what I define as success. You're always thinking, but I definitely feel what I said is true. And then I also just want to drill home that obviously financial sustainability is huge and usually what I'm 100% focused on. And also, we have in here our measurable pupil outcomes that describe exactly all of the different, we have 3 big goals that meet all the 8 state priorities. And of course, that is a humongous thing for us because that's what we need to do to get renewed.
Bonnie, can I ask you one last thing?
Yeah.
I had asked about the principal of the school, and then I had to bring your CV up. So you were principal for a couple of years, is
Yes.
that right?
Yeah.
And then you weren't principal.
Right.
Okay, and now you guys are proposing that you would be the principal. So you have
Yeah,
history.
They called me back.
Great, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I am a Waldorf teacher trainer of the largest Waldorf teacher training. It's a 7-month training above a credential in the country, and I run it. And so I left to go do that. And so when this all happened, because I'm the grandma, the Oma of the they called me back, and it really helped bring the whole community back together again and really hold together through this. And part of, I'm not going to blow my own horn, but part of what happened with getting such high-quality teachers was, I know how to pick them. I'm a teacher trainer for a lot of years.
Yep, we're familiar with amazing principals and what a difference they make.
Yeah.
Thank you. Kirsten, anything else?
Well, I've been very impressed with your incredibly detailed responses to all of my fellow board members' incredibly difficult questions to answer. So I definitely don't have any questions, and I did just want to commend everyone for coming tonight and showcasing your dedication to this model. You clearly know what you're talking about, and I think that we have some work to do in trying to make a balanced decision that benefits both the community and the district. So thank you so much.
As a word about the standards and curriculum, if you do continue to have questions and think that Waldorf doesn't teach the standards when the standards need to be learned, I would invite you to lay your eyes on our curriculum framework and scope and sequence with every standard in there, cross-correlated. So there isn't, and these teachers can attest to the fact that that's what they use. So some of the private Waldorf schools have been lax in what they've done, and I think that's where the reputation came from. I also think that some of the difficulties of having no representation in Sacramento was part of why you heard what you heard from the special education teacher.
Well, thank you. It is very obvious that your heart is very in line with what the caring about this program. I mean, I can feel it. So thank you so much. And again, you know, we're in a weird position because we have this fiduciary responsibility to the greater community. So as we move forward and see our staff's analysis, and I know they've looked a lot at your curriculum because they're the experts, we'll keep moving on this. All right. Thanks for everybody for coming. Yeah, thank you.
So much for all your good questions.
Do they have the book?
Oh, yeah, we don't want you to, okay. All right. And now we're going to hear about our kids' successes last year. Oh, association reports. Oh, yeah. I'm still trying to do my commercial. Get people to listen to this. Okay. Okay. So I'll close the public hearing now, and we'll move on to the consent agenda. Does staff need to pull any items from the consent agenda?
No, we do not.
Did any board member want to pull items from the consent agenda?
No, but I want to thank staff for doing, forwarding me the information I requested. I mean, I'm not going to apologize, but thank you for doing the work.
Okay, would someone like to move approval?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, CSEA. Melissa, are you still here? Yay!
Whoop, whoop. Haircut. Yeah. Nice.
Wait, something's flashing. Oh, it was your phone.
Good evening, I'm Melissa Cruz. You all know who I am.
Are you
Classified
on?
Union Prep.
Green.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, no, now it's on, sorry. For our update tonight, I'll try to make it short and sweet. We've had 2 negotiation sessions so far. My kids are wondering where I am. And I would say that they've been very productive, which is good. Although there's still a bit of a gap to where we'd like to settle with the district with wages and benefits, I feel really confident that we'll come to an agreement that works for both units. The district's made it very clear that they want to give both bargaining units an equitable and fair deal. Therefore, I know that they will help us, and they themselves will think out of the box to accomplish that, because we are 2 very different dynamic unions, and we want to make it keep working the way it has been, and live in this amazing community together. I also want to thank TTEA for their support and continued communication throughout this school year and the past school years. Their encouragement and care for the support staff and classified staff that help run the classrooms and make this all possible, they can feel it. We can all feel it, getting their support, which is really great. We go back to negotiations mid-month, and our hope is to come to some agreements then. Something else, we had 3 candidates who are running for school board attend our chapter meeting, which was incredible. Just this last month, it was really helpful to hear from them, really helpful. And I really appreciate for them reaching out to us and wanting to give us their stance on how they feel about the district, and also to hear from our members and answer questions that our members had. The school year is off to a great start, and I also want to thank the board for everything you guys have done in the past years, and you've made this district is very quality and strong with the rest of us, so thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Melissa. TTEA, is that Nick?
Thanks for waiting.
There we go. Good evening. My name, I know you guys, but for people out here, this is a larger crowd than we're used to. My name's Nick Fertitta. I'm the acting president of the Teachers Association here in Truckee, Tahoe, and I'll be giving our board presentation tonight. Thank you for the time on the agenda. I know it's been a long night for everybody, but obviously important things that we're doing here. As you can see, or at least I thought, I was wearing my favorite purple color tonight, but my wife informed me as I left the house that it's more of a dark blue.
That's not purple.
I'm colorblind, so that speaks to my love of purple. Anyway, but we're optimistic that there's been some collaboration at the table, and there's been some mutual movement back and forth, and we're hopeful that we can get this negotiation season kind of moving forward and round it up, and then everybody can get back to obviously the important work that we all do. It's election season, and with regards to that election season, there's been a lot of effort put forward on all sides. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the members of our Political Action Committee for their hard work, their organization, and their efforts over the last few months. They truly have gone above and beyond in terms of getting our message out, our candidates out, and I very much wanted to thank them because they put a lot of hours in. Additionally, we'd like to offer our thanks to both Kim and Galen for their many years of service to our students in our community. Being an elected official does not always come with a lot of recognition, and quite often comes with a great deal of scrutiny. Admittedly, some of that scrutiny was from us, but we have not always seen eye to eye on the details, but I hope you leave your tenure as board members knowing that we never questioned that you sincerely held the interests of our students in the forefront of your decision making. During the peak of COVID, you served your communities well, during what maybe could have been the most difficult time for a board member to serve their community. On behalf of our teachers, I'd like to wish you guys luck in your future endeavors and second retirements. And thank you for the service to our community, our district, and our students. Thank you, guys. With regards to the charter petition submitted here earlier, I mean, spoiler alert, right? The Teachers Association is not necessarily in support of an additional charter. However, I think our argument tonight is not intended to diminish a charter, but to really be a proponent of our district and what our district comes to offer. We have a lot of diverse learners in our district, and I believe we serve them very well. Full disclosure, I'm biased. My mom graduated from Truckee High in 1964. My brother in 1994, myself in 96, my wife and brother-in-law are also grads, as well as most of my lifelong friends. I've been an employee in Tahoe Truckee for the last 19 years, and my kids will graduate from the district in the years 2028 as well as 2033, respectively. I know, it's a lot to take in. While there's always room to grow, our district has accomplished a great many things. We have been strong and will continue to grow stronger as we move forward together. While not an exhaustive list and by no means in no particular order, here are some of the things we are working on and have accomplished over the years. I call it my homage to David Letterman's top 10 list for TTUSD. Our district has successfully incorporated transitional kindergarten program and is working to expand the program to be in accordance with new state laws. And in the coming years, TTUSD will be adding transitional kindergarten teachers as well as classrooms to welcome our youngest scholars into our school community. The district has a dual immersion program at Kings Beach Elementary that is offered to anyone within the entire school district. The program offers exposure to language, culture, and community for students in TK through 5 and then continues on into the middle school levels. Our elementary schools have and do offer combo classes where appropriate that allow for extra support as well as extended learning for accelerated learners. As mentioned before, TTUSD offers open enrollment for our students so that they may choose which school and what program fits their needs. They can do so for several key reasons. We have a premier transportation department from our director all the way down to our bus drivers and maintenance staff. Indeed, they move our most precious commodity and our most precious resources across one of the largest geographical school districts in the state. Our special education program continues to go above and beyond as they support our students with some of the highest needs in our district. We have a terrific language learner support program that includes ELD classes and that assists newcomers as well as help redesignate students as they move through our programs. We have translation services that help bridge gaps that help bridge language gaps between our school as well as the members of our community. Sorry, I should have been listening to these. Number 5, our school has partnered with community organizations to help offer additional learning opportunities for students. Excellence in Education has supported our students and teachers over the years to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. The Sierra Watershed Project has provided real-world and hands-on experiences and curriculum for our students. Boys and Girls Club has been an invaluable partner on both sides of the district. They offer programs that support our students after school as well as summer opportunities for growth. Other programs, not to try to give the laundry list here, include Arts for the Schools, Sierra Community House, Tahoe Safe Alliance, SOS, Girls on the Run, Adventure Risk Challenge, Aim High, and many, many more beyond that. Number 6, with Measures E and U, our community appropriated funds to renovate and improve our school facilities, which have fundamentally changed the experience of our students as they move through our schools and are able to experience a 21st century learning experience. Number 7, our high schools offer an expanded menu of honors and AP courses that allow students to seek additional challenges and to explore those options. Number 8, our clubs, bands, and sports are, in my opinion, again biased, unrivaled in their accomplishments as well as their tradition. I would also echo that our teachers, and again, consider the source, but are some of the best people I've come to work with and very much believe in them. Number, whatever I'm on here. And then there's a little thing called that global pandemic. While opinions vary on whether responses were appropriate or not, there is an undeniable fact. TTUSD pivoted as fast or faster than any school district in the country. For the factual record, it was not the board nor the association's decision to implement distance learning. The state and county implemented rules and regulations that, in a country that celebrates the idea of the rule of law, we were obligated to follow. We were down for a weekend and 2 days. It was truly the bat signal moment that got thrown up in the sky. Classified, certificated, and district staff put all hands on deck to ensure that students would continue to receive a high-quality instruction. Was it perfect or optimal? No, that is obvious. Consider the alternative, though. Having students for weeks, even months in some cases, completely detached from a learning environment, our district strove to provide students with education, interpersonal connections, albeit through a screen, and even nourishment during the time in which we were building the car as we were driving down the road. As Teddy Roosevelt may have said, and I had to look it up because there's some stuff that maybe he didn't, but he said, in any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing is the wrong thing, and the worst thing that you can do is nothing. COVID impacts are still being felt. Learning loss is real, but we have the capacity and the resources to deal with them. Our district and community should be proud of the way our schools adjusted to something that had not been seen in a century. And finally, number 10. Then there's the chicken and the egg argument here. Do schools demonstrate the substantive qualities of their community, or do schools help produce the climate and culture of a community? My argument is they do both. Our communities, Lakeside and Truckee Side, while former rivals, have and continue to step up to support our students in schools. For our part, I believe the district has and will continue to support all of the learners that walk through our doors each year, regardless of their background. Our schools produce students who attend some of the most prestigious universities in the country. We produce first-time high school graduates, first-time college graduates. We produce local teachers, firefighters, nurses, contractors, small business owners, police officers, and much, much more. In conclusion, what stronger endorsement of our district can there be than the fact that board members, district staff, classified staff, certificated staff trust TTUSD with the education of their own children? Our district is strong. We have an established culture of self-reflection, and we have the efficacy to address current and future issues that face us. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nick. Okay. Tell us.
Bam.
Yes. So this is curriculum and instruction, sorry. And it's a presentation of the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress, English Language, Arts, and Math.
And Nick's presentation was the perfect lead-in.
Segue.
Yes, to this, because we're really celebrating with these results the resilience and the huge community effort in helping support our students during the pandemic. So I'm very excited to share with you the results. And tonight, I'm going to present kind of three parts. So this is the yearly state assessment that our students in 3rd through 8th grade and 11th grade take. So they took it last spring. And we're looking at their English language arts results and their math results. And so first I'm going to talk about who was enrolled last spring, so you can see who took the test. And then I'm going to provide a little bit of context because there's a lot of conversation happening in the news media, in newspaper articles about how students are doing, and was there a pandemic slide, is the achievement gap growing? And then we'll look at our data in 3 different ways. So first, who was here? Who got to take the test? Amazingly, throughout the pandemic, our enrollment has stayed steady. So you can see the enrollment there for the last 3 years. The purple is our current school year, purple bars, and the kind of golden color on the screen, those are the students that took the test last spring. One issue, as everyone was dealing with, was absenteeism last year. There was many requirements for quarantining, students needing to stay home, and so on. So just recognize that that did impact families a lot in student attendance. And so chronic absenteeism is when a student has missed 10% or more of the days that they were enrolled for instruction. And you can see that last year there was still that impact to students in our district. So for context, ideally, there's so much conversation going on right now about how are students doing, about learning loss, and what do we need to do to make sure that the pandemic does not have a lasting negative effect on our scholars here and around the globe. So this was an article from 2 weeks ago looking at ACT scores, and this would be for the seniors of 2022. And 42%, nearly half of the class, did not make the benchmark for English, reading, science, or math on this ACT test. And this is a test that students take to show college readiness, and many universities and colleges use this score result to help in their admissions decisions. So a question as you're looking at our results, and you can see in the title of the article there, they use the term pandemic slide to explain why these results are at a 30-year low. So when you think about our results I share with you in just a few minutes is, did TTUSD scholars have a pandemic slide or not? Another great research paper that came out last Friday was looking at our local assessment results across the nation, and then also the national, the NAEP test results. That there's just a random sampling of students that take that test each year. And they're really analyzing and looking at how our students are doing across a nation. And notice there the quote I pulled out that what they're seeing is that the most highly impacted group were the low-income students, and that the gap was widening. So as you look at our TTUSD scholar information, the other question to ask is, we do have an achievement gap, as you'll see, but did our gap get larger? Did it shrink? Was there an impact from the pandemic on that achievement gap? So we'll answer that too. So first way we're going to look at the data is comparing our results to Placer County and to the state overall. So this graph is for English language arts results for all of our students in the district from last spring. And it's showing the percent of students that met or exceeded the standard for English language arts. And then it's also dividing it by subgroup. So the green bar are our scholars, yellow is Placer County, and the state is orange. And we look at this to see, are we following the trends of other districts in the state and in our county? And as you can see, generally we are. We're pretty much on par. We're a little bit behind the county in some places and ahead in some, and generally ahead of the state, but not in all subgroups. Math, you'll notice the same thing. Ours is on the left, kind of that bluish color. State, again, is orange, and county is yellow. So both of these graphs show, just like the county and the state, in TTUSD, unfortunately, we still have that achievement gap. And that just means that different subgroups are not achieving at the same level. We ideally want to see everyone at 100% across the board. That is our ultimate goal. So the next way we're going to look at the data is through scaled scores. This just goes a little bit more fine grain. That image there on the slide is showing you that each student is eventually assigned an achievement level. If they get standard met or standard exceed level 3 or 4, we say, okay, they're proficient in that subject area. 1 and 2, they're not. But if each parent will get the results, this scaled score, within each achievement level, there is a score band. And this just helps us look at it in more detail. And we're going to look at English language arts first. And this shows you how the scaled score varies and increases for each grade level. Basically, it's kind of their raw score. So you would take like 85% on a test, translates to a B. This is like the 85%. So this graph is looking at English language arts for our 11th graders. And it's looking at it from the past 5 years. So this is different groups of students year after year. So on the furthest to the right, the last number, 2022, that's this year's current seniors. And then we're going back 5 years. And we're going back 5 just so we can look at before the pandemic and after the pandemic. We're comparing the green square, top line there are all students in TTUSD. And then the open blue circle is the subgroup that's identified as economically disadvantaged. And that kind of gray dotted line with the X's, that is the mean scaled score number you need to get to meet or exceed the standard in English language arts. And so those numbers there and that position on the graph is showing our average scale score for all students in the green box and for the low income students in the circle box. And amazingly, you can see pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, our grade 11 students actually did better. And again, this is a celebration to our students, our parents, our teachers that pivot, and just the whole TTUSD team. We had bus drivers tutoring because we didn't need bus transportation. I mean, it was all hands on deck, and this is the result. Even more important, in that other article I was talking about, that second one, that question about did our gap widen or not, Those circles across the bottom along the x-axis there's a blue circle and a number in white. That is showing you the difference between the mean average between the low-income group and all students. And you can see that that number doesn't really vary. So our gap is still there, which is not what we want, but it did not get worse. So again, this just showed the priority that the district and the team went and put on making sure all of our students were learning during the pandemic and last year with all of the craziness with quarantine. We're really just reaching out. So next is 8th grade. You can see that we did see a decline, but again, the gap generally looking at 2018 versus 2022 is about the same. So again, amazing testament to our teachers, parents, families, just the whole team of working so hard to keep our students engaged in learning. And 5th grade, English language arts, again, look at that steady state pre and post-pandemic, and the gap just staying pretty much the same. In fact, it decreased, I think, a little bit in 2021 there. So kudos to the entire community. Great results on English language arts. The summaries here. We do not show a substantial decline post-pandemic. And yes, we do have the gap, but it did not widen. So congratulations to the team in English language arts. So we're going to do the same thing for math using scaled score, looking at the 5 years for those 3 grade levels. So this right away, you're probably, hopefully noticing, there's that gray line. All of our scores are below it. And we know that math is something that our district has been struggling with pre-pandemic and post, and something that we are looking at. But interestingly, again, if you look at that gap between the square all students and the low income, that gap stays fairly consistent. We had a 10-point increase in difference between the drop in score, so the gap widened slightly. But not, again, we didn't see this huge decline, nor did we see a large gap forming. And then grade 8, we were doing better. Pre-pandemic, we did slide a little bit. And then grade 5, again, the lower income is mirroring the all group. And we even had a little bit of a closed gap in 2018 pre-pandemic. So same thing with math. We're holding steady. There was a little bit of decline, but our gap widened slightly, but not a huge difference. And kudos again to everyone and all of their efforts. And I know families often would comment me when I was in my principal's role. I would hear math was hard, doing it home and doing it online, because it's an area that many people don't feel confident in, whereas writing and reading, most people feel more proficient. So math was tough. The other way that's important to look at our data is following the same group of students through time. And just to be completely clear, we say unmatched cohort because we did not pull out like a student that left. So for example, they may have taken the exam with us in 4th and 5th grade, but then moved away. We kept their results. And we also kept the results of students that moved in. But it's close. Our enrollment does not vary that much year to year. So we're going to start with English language arts again. And so generally same group of students looking from 6th grade all the way to 11th grade last year. So this year's current seniors, the green bar is their most current results. And again, amazing results. So these students, 8th grade was pre-pandemic, 11th grade post, in almost all the subgroups, there was an increase. So exciting to see that our students continue to grow throughout this difficult time. And this is looking at math for the same thing for our current senior class, last year's 11th graders. In this case, just like we saw with the 5-year, our math dropped off. But interestingly, in 2019, pre-pandemic in 11th grade, we had 43% of our students meeting standard, and this was 40%. So different group of kids, but we're not that far off and didn't have that much of a slide, as we saw in the other graphs as well. And then I went through just grade by grade so we could kind of look. This is ELA for 7th and 8th grade, just comparing one year to the next. So this is this year's current 9th graders. So they took the test last spring. You could see fairly similar. And then interestingly, for math, opposite. So 7th to 8th grade, their scores went up. So there's hope for math. There's hope on the horizon. And then same thing for 5th to 6th with the ELA. Close, but there's a little bit of a drop. And then math, there you go, slight incline again. So we're making gains with the math. And then our big celebration is 4th to 5th because both ELA and math, we had those increases. So it's great to see that we are rebounding after the pandemic, and the district's working hard, making plans, receiving extra funds from the state, putting them in action, and the staff is working so hard. Our teachers, parents, families, just congratulations. So this is just a summary of the cohort. You'll see in ELA it's mixed. 2 of the grades went up as a cohort group. 2 cohorts went down, and in math we had 3 increase and 1 decrease. So to answer those 2 starting questions, we did not have a pandemic slide in our district, and if you go and dig, even looking at these different ways that different really amazing scholars at university levels analyzing this, it holds true. We did not have a pandemic slide, and that our socially economically disadvantaged students, the gap did not widen for them. So again, huge celebration for our community. Great work, everyone. Thank you for giving me a quick few moments to share that with you.
Thank you. And if we can have Amber disseminate this to the
That's what I
community.
was just texting.
Okay, okay. Thank
I
you.
just took a picture of that screen.
No, we will definitely have it posted.
Great. Thank you so much, Kirsten. A great analysis, and you presented in a way that is understandable even to me. So thank you, I appreciate it.
My pleasure, thank you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay. Okay, my doggy probably needs to go out, so let's keep going. Next, we're going to move to a personnel item, and that is a revision to the executive management salary schedule.
And I'm going to do this one on behalf of Ms. Sabatini. The management salary schedule reflects a 6% ongoing increase to the superintendent chief learning officer compensation.
Excuse me, Bonnie, I'm sorry, there's a jacket. Don't forget that, please.
Oh, please. You
Okay.
might need it. You might need it outside.
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's fine.
Drive safe.
Thank you very much. So the salary schedule reflects a 6% ongoing increase to the Superintendent Chief Learning Officer compensation, which was approved at our October 19, 2022 board meeting. And most importantly, and this is why I wanted to do this, is that we are changing the job title, keeping the compensation the same, but changing the job title of our Executive Director of Educational Services to Assistant Superintendent Educational Services. So staff is asking for board to make these approvals.
Questions? Public comment? Would someone like to make a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the revisions to the executive management salary schedule as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Yay.
Congratulations, Mrs. Kramer.
Okay.
Do you know if you're missing
Then we have board business rescheduling a January 2023 meeting.
Did you lose it?
Yes, so the January 4th board meeting falls right smack dab in the middle of our December holiday break. So staff is asking if we could reschedule that board meeting to the following week, I believe, which is January the 11th. And we just would like board approval.
Whatever you want to do, it's good with me.
I'm just going to make that motion and hope that I'm here. I'll make a motion to approve.
Wait, do we have public comment?
Oh, public comment, sorry.
Okay, go ahead. Dee.
I'll make that motion to approve the revision to the calendar.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Let me check my calendar. Aye.
Funny, funny, funny.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
Okay, board reports. Kirsten?
Let's see. On Halloween Day, I actually got to go to Glenshire Elementary campus. and spend about 2 hours just cruising around, which I haven't done in a very long time. Brought me to tears, for sure, walking down the hallways, thinking about the days when my own kids used to run around that campus in their Halloween costumes, and I sent pictures to my college-age kids of all the little ones running around, and they were like, I remember that like it was yesterday. But I got to visit with a bunch of teachers and meet some new teachers who I'd never met before and reconnect with some that I hadn't seen in a very long time, as well as say hello to Mr. Kyle Mohagan, whose new position he seems to be enjoying very much, as well as Mrs. Kramer's replacement, Mrs. Cuddle, who seems to be doing a great job over there. You'd be very proud. Hopefully I get to get out a little bit more and see some more young people and some more teachers and some departments as well as we get into this next school year.
Okay, I don't have a job right now, so, 2 weeks ago, I went to.
That's a really long
Yes, I wrote it down like Galen has trained me. Write it down. Climate meeting with a whole bunch of activists in Truckee, which was suggested from Anna Clovestead to come check it out. So it was an action group that is working to address the climate change in our community, and it was extremely encouraging to see. It's almost scary to think what's out there, but it was an interesting group of new people out there trying to address the climate change. Went to the Snow Museum showing of Magic in the Mountains, which was a story for the 80 Olympics, which was really kind of cool. Saw a lot of local people that 1960 Olympics. 1960, which was kind of fun because there was some alumni that were there that are from our schools, which was kind of neat. I went to the Kermez at Kings Beach Elementary, and as Franny did indicate, it was a project grad for the North Tahoe High School, and they raised over $6,000, which was just crazy. And I bought a raffle ticket and won a sweatshirt. So and I brought food home. It was well worth it. Went to the final bike race for the North Tahoe and Truckee High School's bike race in Reno, Hidden Valley, never been there. Only 3 of the 6 porta potties fell over in the windstorm, so it was a great adventure. Our kids did great, though. We had a lot of podiums. Evan was there. I did go to the strategic plan input meeting at Kings Beach with Carmen and a couple other people. It was actually good, definitely encouraging people to add to that survey. I did go to the site rep meeting with Carmen at Kings Beach, which was all the site reps that were in the schools came and had a conversation with Carmen, which was great. Like, it was so nice. What's it called?
Parent Superintendent Advisory Committee.
Yep, I knew that was something different. I put a site rep. It's Parent Supervisory Committee. Advisory Committee. I was the field trip driver for the North Tahoe High School AP Environmental Field Trip to Blackwood Canyon. John Halverson, are you laughing back there? North Tahoe High School football under the lights. Awesome. I was a participant in the parade at Tahoe Lake Elementary School. I followed the kindergarten class so that they wouldn't get lost. Youth Forum at the DO on the 1st, which was put on with by the Tahoe Community Foundation, which was awesome. School representatives from our high schools came and spoke about how they were feeling about our support systems in our schools, and it was awesome. There was a full circle here with a lot of other entities that were supporting Gateway Mountain Center, Aim High, SOS. It was amazing. Our children have amazing voices. They are so articulate, and they're so strong in their beings, which was awesome. Tuesday morning breakfast club meeting in line with the Tahoe City Downtown Association. And that was interesting because I talked about the Homewood update at the lake, the Tahoe City Lake Shore, or that, what is it, a Boatworks Mall redo, that, like, there's 3 different projects in Tahoe City that are being redone, and it was just sort of where they are and all of that. And there was something else, but I forgot. That was a lot. I had a blast.
Good. I don't have anything.
You're not allowed to work anymore. Like, you're just everywhere. Yeah, I just want to acknowledge that the Lakeside schools had a family member pass away a week ago last Tuesday. And so a lot of the week has been in that. But I just want to acknowledge that family because it was a teacher's husband. So our schools were greatly affected. And many of our kids are friends with their children. So I just want to acknowledge that. But I too got to participate in the strategic plan at Kings Beach Elementary that evening. And the advisors or agency, whatever their actual.
Living strategy.
Yes, money well spent. I'm glad that the board has chosen to support that decision because they got the conversation going and it was a good mix of parents and staff. Yeah, I found that really great and well done. And again, money well spent for our district to help us move forward. And also shadowed Carmen at Kings Beach Elementary for Soups on the Move.
Next week's Donner Trail and Tahoe Lake.
And I have those here. Yeah, it was nice to revisit Kings Beach Elementary, and that's my daughter's little elementary school, so it's very close to my heart. Looks completely different, right, after Measure E, but very sweet little school, great staff, just like at all of our schools. And I wish I would have known about the Youth Voice, because I've participated or witnessed it before, and I love it so much, so next year, spread the word. That's all I have, thank you.
Can I go back? There is one thing I wanted to mention. The Donner Trail Thanksgiving dinner is the 19th of November. Please attend. If you can't attend, buy raffle tickets.
So I don't remember being at this meeting later than 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's a great send-off, right?
Yes. I really appreciated the meeting tonight. It was really interesting. The kids, students, just are always impressive. Definitely appreciated your comments, John, and
The other
guy. Dick.
Mr. Otter.
Jeff. I was looking at Stakely.
Dr. Stakely, yes.
Dr. Stakely. This is a tough role for a board to be in, to listen to all these great things that are happening and these strong opinions with a lot of information. And how do you weigh all that? And I'm counting on staff. Thank you, staff.
Thanks. We'll adjourn to our meeting November 16th.